This is Liberty Underground with Alex Snicker, Danielle Alexandre, and Greg Bowen on the 17 Radio Network.
Well, good morning, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, everybody in Nebraska, everybody out in North Dakota. Hope you're doing well. And everybody in Canada, morning.
Well, they're now here right now.
Yeah.
think like a third of Canada is actually in the Bay Area this month.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. This is Alex, co-host, Liberty Underground, along with me, the Duchess of Doing Stuff, my own personal Wikipedia, Danielle Alexandre. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Doing well?
I am. I'm a little more like I am still not as prepared this week as I usually am. Like I caught up on some sleep when we got home on Wednesday and stuff, so I'm feeling much more awake. Not as much more prepared, but awake.
You know, that plays.
It does play.
That plays. Because being awake kind of helps you to be able to just kind of, help out there.
Right.
So, that's kind of funny. Also in studio is number one on the Demons, the Prime Minister of the Sinister, Greg Bowen. How are you doing, sir?
Spectacular.
Sporting the Demons, by the way. An XFL team, which is beautiful.
Absolutely.
No longer around.
I hope somebody else picks up the name and logo, though.
You hope somebody picks up the name and the logo, the Demons?
Absolutely. I was a Demons fan strictly because of the name and logo. It's awesome.
Isn't that why chicks pick teams, though?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It was XFL, it didn't really count anyway.
Yeah. And we didn't have a team here, and although the Orlando team was cool, and I was a fan of the Orlando team,
You know what? Here's the thing. I can understand the Demons and all, but they were the rage.
They were.
So, that's cool, too, though.
Well, that's
the
the
rage
cool
is
thing.
cool, too.
Yeah. Well, that was the cool thing about the XFL. Every team, every logo had every name, every logo was awesome. It was a very cool league. I'm sad that it's gone.
Yeah.
Too bad they weren't cool enough to have people actually watch.
Yeah.
They did have people watch. Their problem was they tried to get too big.
Yeah, they tried to start bigger than they could, and the other thing is, Vince thought he could compete with the NFL, and the NFL smacked him down.
Yeah, that was a smackdown. Speaking of, that was not a good time for him. That guy has done a lot of things that he's been very successful at, so I can understand that the ego would kind of get in the way on that, considering how he basically ruled over, wrestling.
Yeah.
And seeing as how the XFL was kind of turning into, or the NFL was kind of turning into sports entertainment anyway, so why not be able to take over that realm too?
Exactly.
Unfortunately it didn't. Now, before we get into the news, we got a lot of different stuff to get over. A lot of stuff going on, by the way. I mean, just all kinds of crazy stuff. But before we get into that, though, I want to congratulate Greg, because Greg homeschools his son, and he was evaluated. And can you just tell us a little bit about what happened here? Why would I be congratulating you? Well, first off, because you're still allowed to do it. So,
well, yesterday we had a certified teacher come in. Him, depending on how you're homeschooling and what you've set up. If you set up your own 500 school, then you basically control it all yourself. But we haven't done that. So we're just regular homeschooling parents. So the way we do it, we have to have him be evaluated every year to make sure that he is getting the proper level of education. And you can do that by taking him into the school and having him take the FCAT or whatever. But what we opted to just pay a teacher to come in and do an evaluation on him. And the only criticism was my record. Not a very good record keeper. But, sitting and talking with my son, the teacher, it was clear to her that we're doing a great job in teaching him, and that his education level is. She was amazed because, all the things that we are teaching him. Even taught her a few things about the solar system, and she was amazed at how well he does in biology and stuff. And my father speaks German. He's teaching my son German. So she was just very impressed with how well he's doing. multiple times. She's like, most first graders have no idea what this is. They don't even learn this stuff. So I was very happy with it. You know, happy with the job we've done in teaching him. And I have to admit, I was kind of nervous going in because I know I'm not a very good record keeper. I didn't have everything to put in front of her to show her everything. But what the records that we do have and what we do, you know, it was clear what we're doing for him. And so she signed off on it, and we're good for another year. And I'm very happy with the result.
Well, your son will teach anyone about the solar system.
Yes, he will.
Because no matter where he is, you know, he starts out, and it's cute because he'll be like, "What's your favorite planet?" And he catches you off guard because you're not really talking about anything that would be science related, or even it's like, you know, what would you like for lunch? He's like, "What's your favorite planet?" Like, well, I wasn't expecting that, but okay, you know, and you tell him, and then he'll tell you every single fact about that planet, and then all the planets around it. So I mean, he's actually really, really knowledgeable on, and he's quite proud of it to talk to other people about it.
Oh, absolutely.
I would go so far as to say that he's a solar planet solicitor. I think I would go that far. Solar planet solicitor is probably the proper term that we'd have to use for him on that.
He absolutely does control the conversation when it comes to that,
and he always directs it toward solar. Or solar or the planets.
The planets.
I would love for Greg to teach him something else other than that.
Well,
obviously by your
does
you
know
are.
a lot of other
Obviously,
things.
by your inspection, you are. However,
He just likes planets.
you know,
he's named after a star. He wants to be an astronaut when
I'm
he
named
grows
after
up.
a star too, by the way.
But he wants to be an astronaut
It was
when
Alex
he grows
Trebek.
up. Yeah.
I just got
Took
that.
you a second.
I totally just got that.
It's like a joke grenade from Danielle over there. No, but earlier this week, he mapped out his plan for traveling the solar system and what he wants to do on his first mission. He wants to go to Venus and then come back to Earth and pick me up, and then take me with him out to Mars and then to Jupiter and then to Saturn. You know, because like you said, he always asks what your favorite planet is. My favorite planet is Saturn. He's like, I want to take you to Saturn, Daddy.
But you can't go with him to Venus.
No.
That's like a solo trip.
Well, it's because I've told him he wants to go to Venus and Mercury, and I'm like, well, buddy, it's really not a good idea to get any closer to the sun than we already are. It's kind of hot, and we don't really want to get any closer to the sun than we are. That's pretty dangerous. And he's like, well, I'll go to Venus.
You just stay home.
And you stay here. And then when I'm coming back to go to Mars, I'll stop at Earth and pick you up and take you with me on the way out. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, that's good, by the way. I'm very happy for you. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
And that's all I got to say. Other than that, it was cool.
No, it's good. I think,
Honestly, I would have not been able to get evaluation that well because I would not be homeschooling my son. I would not have said patience. So.
Right, well, Michael's a little difficult in the listening area.
Oh, Rigel's not easy in the listening area.
Well, that's why it comes down to the patience part.
Yeah. So, but no, I actually like homeschooling. I wish that we could do it, but it's just not, something that we could do. But I do like it, but I understand, like, a lot of parents are, kind of worried through those evaluations, because it's really dependent on one person's opinion. And you never know kind of where they stand on homeschooling and how they feel about it. So you kind of never know where they stand on how they're going to evaluate you because a lot of it is really subjective.
Yeah. Well, one of the interesting things was she was a teacher at the school that Rigel attended when he was in school. And she knew his teacher. I had talked to her beforehand. She ended up going and meeting with his old teacher and getting the stuff that he had done during that year. Because when we signed him up for homeschooling, the school board told us, now that you're homeschooling, he does not have to go back to the school. You do not have to go back to the school. You don't have to notify that. You never have to step foot on that property again if you don't want to. So we didn't. So all of the stuff that he had done so far was still kept in a folder. And so she went and met with his teacher and picked all that up and brought that with her. But she was going on about Common Core. That's why she doesn't teach anymore. She railed for quite some time about Common Core. And when I talked to her about, what the problems that we were having with Rigel in school, she totally understood.
Yeah.
And Common Core is part of the reason why that was an issue. Because you guys have met him. He is a very high energy kid.
Yeah.
And, he's not ADD because if there's something that he is interested in, he will be focused and just dive into it for hours. But if he's not got his attention grabbed, he's all over the place. And in kindergarten, we taught him how to read before he went into kindergarten. He knew how to read. He knew how to do basic math. He knew shapes, colors, the alphabet,
Right.
stuff like that. So when they're teaching him that kind of stuff in kindergarten, he was bored. They're trying to get him to talk about, triangles and squares. And he's like, well, I know the 3D shapes like cylinders and cones and spheres. And, I don't want to sit and do this. So he was hard to manage.
Yeah.
But with Common Core, they have very strict guidelines on how long they can spend on things. And, when they've only got 15 minutes allotted for reading, and then they've got to move on to math, and they've got 20 minutes for that, to be able to cover all the things that they have to test them on, it's very disruptive to have a child like him. And so they had a lot of problems with him, which, him being a small child, he didn't understand exactly what was going on. He would come home saying, I don't want to go back to school. My teacher's mean to me, things like that. When he just had a very tall woman as a teacher who was speaking very sternly with him and trying to get him under control. I don't believe she was being mean to him,
Right.
but he doesn't understand that. And the things that they were doing with him, I didn't see that handling it. And with him saying his teacher's being mean to him, I don't want to go to school, they were setting him up for failure.
To hate school forever.
Exactly. He was being set up to fail for the rest of his school career. I've seen it happen with other kids. I saw it happen when I was in school. And that's not what I wanted for him because he loves to learn. He is a sponge and he loves to absorb information. And all you have to do is know how to handle him. But school's not designed that way, especially now with Common Core.
Right.
He's a square peg, and they're trying to shave off the edges and force him into a round hole, and he wasn't having it. And I don't see the need to do that.
He's a sponge from Greg's pants. Sorry. That's the only thing I got from the whole thing.
Good thing we're not on terrestrial.
This is why we don't homeschool.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't even hear anything after he said he said a sponge.
When he says,
as soon as he said a sponge, all I thought about was that joke. Sorry.
You want to know why we don't homeschool? Because that's
This
the
is why we
thought.
can't have nice things.
This is why we can't homeschool.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Mike could just be running around going, that's what she said all the time.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. I don't make you a bad person. All right. Well, let's get to the topic at hand. The Super Bowl.
Well, because that was the other kind of big event for the week that everyone got.
Honestly,
to-
the Super Bowl. I figure was the first thing we talk about. Did you watch the game, Greg?
I did.
Did you enjoy the game?
Moderately. I will say this. It was one of the more competitive Super Bowls I've ever seen.
I thought
I
so as well.
enjoyed the game.
Yeah.
Look, I watched. There's a lot of people. Look, if you don't watch the Super Bowl, I'm happy for you. I'm legitimately happy for you. I personally am not really a football fan or a sports fan anymore. However, kind of fun to watch the game. Like watching the Super Bowl can be fun at times. I can lose interest very quickly and do something else. However, this one was able to keep me, engaged in doing it. What I do find a little bit, here's the thing. What I find a little bit annoying is on either side. Like if you do watch the Super Bowl all the time and you're a big sports fan, how you look, I can't understand how you don't like to watch the Super Bowl. That annoys me. In addition to it, the person that stands up, I'm not watching the Super Bowl, and you're an idiot if you do. That guy annoys me too.
Yeah.
All right, because here's the thing. I would imagine that the guy that stood up to say, I can't believe you're watching the Super Bowl, is probably watching something that would annoy the piss out of the rest of us. So, just because you don't choose football as your form of entertainment, don't get mad at everybody else because they happen to.
Exactly.
As long as they're not taking it too seriously. The people that take things way too seriously about, this is the most important thing ever to watch.
Did all year long for this.
The extremes of either are annoying. So just shut up, basically.
Everybody shut up.
Everybody just shut up. Now, it was funny, though, that this one happened to be the most watched thing, like, on the planet.
Yeah. Not only was this the most watched Super Bowl in history, this is the most watched broadcast
Yeah.
ever.
I got to tell you. Oh, go ahead.
No, I actually, like, last year, I thought the Super Bowl was just kind of, we watched the game. Me and Kelly watched the game. Alex actually did lose interest last year and kind of, went off and was, like, checking emails because he was like, yeah, I'm kind of done with this. But this year, I felt the game kept me not excited, but interested. I thought it was very entertaining.
Yeah, it did keep you engaged. That's what happened with me. I was kind of disinterested in it. Had it on just because everybody's going to be watching it. Everybody's going to be talking about it. I need to watch it just because, like you, I've lost interest in sports and I don't really care anymore.
But I thought that the game itself was pretty good.
It was very competitive.
Very big surprises at the end. Honestly,
Yeah.
that one catch at the end, not the interception, but the catch.
Yeah.
Like, that was just like, I'm like, wow. Because he totally caught that. There was no getting around that one. Never hit the floor. Totally caught it. And then, for the interception, it's like, and again, I didn't know a lot about both teams, but I understood that the one guy from Seattle was a big running back. They could have just ran it in.
Because he seemed to be running all over them all night.
Yeah, he was at least getting a couple yards, and they had a couple yards to go. It wasn't like time was of the essence here. And at one point, just because I'm a hateful person sometimes, I kind of hated both teams anyway. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't like either team. I kind of hated them if I hated one. And I just thought that, like, I started hating Seattle more. And it seemed like for good reason, because they were just acting like a bunch of jerks. So, whatever. Again, I don't even care at this point. Like, it's over with now. I care more about a specific commercial on the Super Bowl than I do the Super Bowl.
Right.
But now, and this is what else I was actually more impressed with the game I have been in the last few years. I thought the game kept me engaged. There were some great plays, and you could appreciate the athleticism of the plays that they stuff. So what I normally do find more interesting than the game and is the commercials. And this year, I was really
The commercials were kind of lame.
touchy-feely, like, I was annoyed. Like,
Yeah.
this is football. I don't want your touchy-feely commercials.
Yeah, it's funny because that was part of the reason that I did want to watch it, because there's always great commercials. There's always commercials you haven't seen yet, and the cost for these commercials is these are the most expensive
Right.
commercials you can buy. So the ad companies and the companies that are advertising their wares put a lot of effort into the commercials that are aired during the Super Bowl. So they're pretty much as much worth watching as the game itself. And I was disappointed with them. They didn't keep me as engaged as the game did.
No, I definitely thought that they're mushy, and it must have been. I don't know. This has been market tested that people that watch the Super Bowl want an entertaining commercial. They want funny, and they do this year after year. Poll people, they survey people. Everyone says, "I want a funny commercial," and every year it seems we get less and less of the funny commercials and more of these stupid. Oh, we just care. Like, no, you're going to buy McDonald's with love. Like, shut up. Seriously.
I don't want to dance for my food. You know what? Just bill and leave me alone.
Like, I'm buying the dollar menu. Seriously, it's not worth it. I don't want to pay with love. I don't, just give me a burger. And then I was actually upset with the one that was like, your kids are going to die.
Yeah.
Like, come on. It's the Super Bowl. Like, it was just over the top. It was very mushy. Very, Coca-Cola's going to take over the world and tell you to love people. Like, seriously, all of the commercials, most of them for that, was just it just didn't keep me entertained. Most of the time the commercials would come on and we were actually at someone else's house, so we'd all start talking. And normally you'd see the opposite, where during the commercials people would be engaged. Nobody cared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, there was one in particular that I seem to have a little bit of a problem with. Now, Budweiser had a whole bunch of different commercials out there, with the horse and the dog and all the touchy-feely
They lost the dog,
stuff.
and that was stupid.
Which, that's fine and all. The one in the third quarter, though, it's a whole different ball game. Budweiser in an effort to spit in the face of the craft brewery industry, decided to make a commercial and to spend $4.3 million just for one ad to make sure that that ad played on the Super Bowl. And the commercial itself was basically saying that they're a macro beer, not a micro beer, and they're not for beer snobs. They're for real people, real men that drink real beer the hard way, not these craft beer snob kind of making it look dorky and geeky to want to drink craft beer and be
I'd
like,
rather have watered down yucky beer.
yeah, you can grow your peach. You can have your peach beer,
Your pumpkin peach
your
ale.
pumpkin peach ale, and we'll keep our beer Beechwood aged. Which, if you've come to find out, that those little chips in the Beechwood aged thing are totally like they are. They're bleached before they get put in there. They're literally there to help collect the yeast. They have no flavor whatsoever.
Right.
To
There's
the-
no
to the-
beechwood flavor in your beer. They
No
bleach
flavor in a
all of the
Budweiser.
beechwood out of the beechwood.
Yeah.
So that when
So-
it goes in there, it's useless.
You know, and look, I guess that if you take the whole Gandhi comment, you know, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. So at least the craft brewery industry realizes they're in the third stage right now.
Yeah.
Even though they were in the third stage a little while ago, this happens to just be the first public across the bow. Again, these guys privately, behind closed doors or in places you wouldn't necessarily know about, have been going after craft breweries here in the state of Florida. And they're buying them up left and right. As a matter of fact, the one thing I find the funniest thing is that one of the craft breweries that Budweiser or Anheuser-Busch InBev, a Belgian company, not a company, recently bought.
Serves a pumpkin peach ale.
Yeah, serves a pumpkin peach ale.
So
Like-
Budweiser actually owns a pumpkin peach ale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they own a company that owns a pumpkin peach ale. And you got to remember this, too, about Budweiser. They are still trying to market themselves as being an all-American company.
Yeah.
From Belgium.
From Belgium. They were bought by InBev. They're owned by Belgium. They're part of the largest beer company in the world. Now, again, there's a lot of people in this show that could really care less about if something was made in America or not. However, Budweiser, no longer owned by an American company.
Well, the Bush family owned, like, I think 70% of the interest in
Look
the
at the
company.
Bushes. Look at the Bushes, always causing trouble.
Different
Bushes.
Bush family.
I'm just saying,
But,
though.
so the Bush family had always kept about 70% interest in the company. And they actually sold like 60% of the company, the interest in the company, to InBev, which is the Belgium company. So while, you know, it was kind of they call it like a merger of, they actually didn't have one company buy the other company. They had the other company buy the interest in the company. So they're more of like just larger board members and things. So that's why they get away with saying how they're still an American company, because they still are a company here. They're based here. They still run out of America.
It is still brewed here.
But they're the largest stakeholder, the largest, board member would be InBev, which is from Belgium.
I remember when it was announced that InBev was going to be purchasing Anheuser-Busch, I was like, great, a company that knows how to brew good beer is buying Anheuser-Busch. Maybe they'll start putting out good beer.
No.
No.
They do put and I do enjoy Stella.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
That's an Anheuser-Busch InBev.
because what they're doing is they're buying up other beers.
Right.
Look, here's my opinion on the matter. First off, I think screw you, Budweiser, for putting that commercial out, even though thank you, Budweiser, for putting that commercial out, because there was backlash, and you got some of it, so good. I'm glad for you. And it also allows me to highlight and start to point out of the nasty things that you are doing. Look, if you want to if Budweiser wants to put out a commercial saying that craft brewery places a bunch of snobs and all that kind of stuff, by all rights, you have the ability to be able to do that. By buying up other craft breweries, by all rights, you have the right to do that too. Those are two business practices that are totally allowed, that you're totally allowed to do. So I'm not going to get mad at you for any of those things. My problem is what you're doing at the state house. What you're doing up in Tallahassee, and the protection racket of the 3-tier system that allows you to be able to hurt the craft beer industry from blooming the way that it should be blooming. One thing that Greg had written earlier in the week, there's a couple of articles this week, and I know it sounded...
At 1787network.com.
Yeah, at 1787network.com. There's a couple craft beer articles this week. One of them is Greg's, which goes into the history of craft beer. Or history of beer, I guess you should say, not just craft beer, but beer.
Well, all beer starts out as craft beer until they...
No, and that's kind of the point, though. Before Prohibition, there was no such thing, really, as a national beer.
Right.
Everything was local. And there was... now, don't get me wrong, there was probably regional beers. I'm sure Anheuser-Busch was a regional beer at the time. I don't know the... Go ahead. You got something on that?
Well, Anheuser-Busch, the reason that they're still around now is because of a lot of the innovations that they made before Prohibition. And we actually have them to thank for a lot of things that we have now. They are the ones that innovated refrigerated transportation to carry their beer outside of their region. And they grew to become the first chain beer that you could get in more than just a local area because of that, because they came up with a way to transport their beer cold and get it around. And, our food that is transported through refrigerated transport, we have Anheuser-Busch to thank for that.
Yeah.
They pretty much invented that process. And that's why they lived on during Prohibition. When Prohibition came about, the companies that were able to diversify their interests were able to sustain through Prohibition. Anheuser-Busch was one of them. They started transporting food and other goods through their refrigerated transport. They owned huge amounts of rice and wheat fields. They had a lot of things that they owned besides just breweries that was able to keep them alive as a company through Prohibition. And when Prohibition ended, they were able to dominate the market almost immediately.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a great thing to know. But after Prohibition, the entire market changed, including for them. Mm-hmm. And now they're kind of using the Prohibition era laws to kind of snuff out competition. Because after Prohibition and because they were a company that survived, and not many did. Most people were starting completely over when Prohibition ended. But you ended up with this system where a company like Anheuser-Busch, because they survived through this Prohibition era, could now use the system that was created to make sure that they were the ones that had the capital. They were the ones that were controlling the market as people were entering in, because they had a governmental system to do that, and that was the three-tier system. And the three-tier system is one where you can't be a brewer. If you're a brewer, you can't distribute, meaning you take your beer other places or sell the beer to the end customer. All of those people had to be three different people. But Anheuser-Busch had enough capital to be able to diversify and say, okay, well, our trucking line will just be this, and our farming line will be this company now. And they could kind of but what they could also do is control the market of people coming in, because those people had to use the trucking company that they used to own. They had to use certain things that were set up by Anheuser-Busch. So literally, as soon as the Prohibition ended, Anheuser-Busch became the one controlling the market.
Yeah, because they had created this refrigerated transport system. They were the ones that controlled it. Where they used to be the brewers, now they're the distributors.
Look, I think that the craft brewery issue, the craft beer issue, I am such a... Look, I'm not really a big, huge beer drinker. I like liquor. I'm not a beer guy, but I'll drink craft beer. I'll drink beer.
I prefer craft beer.
I just drink Jack. I like Jack Daniels. I like to put it in Coke. I like to drink it that way. I like vodka.
Pepsi.
Or like vodka. Or Pepsi. Whatever.
Or my belly.
So I like to... That's my preference. I think that this issue in and of itself is such a beautiful issue to highlight on so many levels. Like, there's a lot going on here that maybe people aren't necessarily aware of. First one is this is a return to local.
Right.
Like, this is a return to, like, you can go buy your beer from somebody here. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a beautiful thing in and of itself. So if you're looking for, well, we should buy local and not buy big chains or things like that, with beer, you have that option here in Florida. I mean, not all the way in Florida to do it, but you do have a lot of it here in Florida to be able to do it. Like, there's a lot of them going around, and they're getting better and getting better and getting better.
We're saying it's not receiving data.
Oh, really?
I have internet.
Is your computer on?
It's shut, so it shuts everything down.
Okay, now it's
it back up?
It's at least streaming, but it's saying it's not a fast enough rate.
All right, well, that's a problem. Did we check into the... Oh.
Yeah, and we can talk about that later, but yeah, there is some options that we have to go through.
All right. All right, let me get back to this. So the industry in and of itself is a very interesting industry. That it's going local. It's being able to buy your beer locally. It's also it's choice. You know, you're going to be able to, even at any of those places that you're going to be able to buy your beer. You know, all different kinds of beer are sold at a lot of these places. So you're going to be able to kind of pick and choose what you want. But also, the makeup of these places is completely different. So there's different kinds of places that serve differently, and they're set up differently, and their tasting rooms are different. All different kinds of on with these things.
Some have giant Jenga.
Yeah, some have giant Jenga.
I love the places that have giant Jenga. I don't even
Yes.
play it, but I just love seeing it.
Yeah. So that's really good. I mean, I love that part of it where you see that kind of just overall just variety, even within all of the different craft brewery locations. Mm-hmm. And I do think that what they're doing is they are changing the market. It's still small. Like, they're only 4% here in Florida. And they're very small, but they are things. It's the reason that the big beers and the distributors are so upset right now. They're trying to stop them from being able to grow because they will disrupt the market. They will disrupt not the market, but the business model other people are making a lot of money off of, and those people realize that they're not necessarily going to be able to make their money as easily using the business model that the craft breweries are doing as they are able to now, and they're not able to control things like they are now.
Well, I think that's the main thing is they're not able to control the market like they have been in the past. And like we just said, you know, Anheuser-Busch has basically been controlling the market since the end of Prohibition. And now with these craft beers becoming smaller, they're starting to lose control over the market. I believe greatly that they're really serving completely different customers. I don't find them to be competition per se. I don't feel that people coming to a craft beer, you know, craft brewery, they were ones that weren't happy with Anheuser-Busch anyways. You know, because there's a very different taste to the beer. To a Bud Light, going into a craft brewery is going to be a very different taste to you. They have a lot of different flavors. Some of them are very strong flavors. And it's not always something that, you know, someone who is a Anheuser-Busch fan is necessarily used to or would even like. I think that there's a very market for craft breweries. I don't think that you're going to see any one craft brewery be as big as Anheuser-Busch. I don't think they have the product for that. They serve a very niche market that is growing in the industry, and I think you're getting people who didn't really drink beer to begin with going to these places because it is a different taste and it isn't your Bud Light that you see everywhere else.
You know, I've heard you say this before, and I do not agree with you on this one. But let me explain why. As of right now, the niche market. I think that anybody that buys beer can find a craft beer better than the beer that they have. I think that they can. However, with that being said, I think that there's a long way to go before any of them take over Budweiser, and I don't think any of them would ever take over Budweiser. But I think that what we will see though is that the craft beer industry eventually, look, if you take Budweiser as that beer market share and compare it to all the craft beers, then I think eventually the craft beers will represent a bigger market share than Budweiser.
But I don't think any one craft beer will overtake Budweiser.
No, because I think that the business model in and of itself is set up in such a way that it lends itself for local.
I don't. I think it's because of the product.
All right.
So, and, you know, I just think that it's a different product. It's the same thing as when you, in food service, when you see the difference between a small restaurant and some larger corporation, or like and especially when you get to like the buffets, where to serve a large amount of people, you actually have to take away some of the seasoning, some of the flavoring, some of the sauces, because the average person, the mass public doesn't enjoy that. It's a niche market that enjoys those things. So when you're as the company grows, as you become a larger company, you actually will have less flavor to your food, less seasonings, less sauces, and you have to. That's just the way the market goes, because to appeal to the masses, they don't have those taste buds. The masses don't. And I think that's the same thing with craft beer. The masses, the general public, isn't going to be craft beer drinkers. Will they find one or two that they like? Sure, because they're going to find one that doesn't have the odd flavors that we're used to in the craft breweries. I think it's going to serve a niche market, just like small businesses, small restaurants serve a niche market that like those particular flavors.
Yep.
Right.
Well, no, that was good. Again, I think that it's beautiful, though. And we're all about it here at 1787 Network, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Way more than you even know. So, but let's take a break here real quick. When we get back, speaking of craft beer, though, let's give a little bit of a Tallahassee update as to what's going on up in Tallahassee, including craft beers. So there's a lot of stuff that they're messing with up in Tallahassee, beer just being one of them. But you're listening to 1787 Radio Network.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven. Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an fact. Cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
Liberty starts with a .com/Liberty Underground.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
You know, Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And postal not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has insurance you do. Moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome. Liberty Underground, 1787network.com is the website. 1787network.com. What are you doing over there? What are you doing here? What do you got going? What is that? Buttons and knobs and levers and switches and buttons and knobs and levers and switches and...
Was he turning off your mic? He was just like, I'm done with it.
I think he was trying to mute me. I think he was trying to silence me. I think very, very nice, Greg.
It's the bleeps, the creeps, and the sweeps.
We went from one movie reference to the other, by the way. That was very, very good. Good. All right. Hold on. The Tallahassee update with Danielle Alexandre, no, not the Prime Minister of the Sinister. She's the Duchess of Doing Stuff and Tallahassee's favorite libertarian. Go ahead, Danielle.
I honestly think we have so many computers in here. The fact that we can't actually just have actual audio, that we have to have you going is just sad.
We just need to get...
I need to tell Greg ahead of time if I want.
That's the thing. I need to know, for one, that you want to do those things, and I need to make sure I have the sound effects for that. I do have some. I don't have that one in
particular. There's like 25 computers in here. No, I'm only kidding. There's not that many, but there's a lot of computers. While we were talking about craft beer and the commercial that Budweiser was saying was to let everyone know that they're not in any way intimidated by the craft brewery industry, which is why they spent $5 million say that. They're also doing a lot in our state with this issue. And anyone who has been following us for a while knows that last year we were very much involved in the craft brewery legislation that was going on, because this would have really hurt this industry. And again, we're back in a legislative session where beer is king. Because I walk into committee meetings for all sorts of different subjects, and there's the legislators, and some people will talk. When you walk into a committee meeting when they're talking about beer, there are cameras everywhere, news crews, the place is packed. I mean, this is the big issue media-wise, and just, people showing up for the year, and it's craft beer. And it was one of the committee meetings that I sit in on this week. And being as this was the first actual time legislation, I sit back and see the comments from the senators, because this was a Senate committee, to kind of see when I do go to speak up about the issue at the next meeting, kind of where they're at, so I can kind of address those concerns.
Yeah, what you wanted to do is you wanted to see where they were going to be at on the objection side. So when you spoke directly to the objections.
Right, because you only get 3 minutes, so I want my 3 minutes to count.
Yeah, no, I got you. No, and I understand why you would do something like that.
So I was very much an observer, and halfway through, I was more than an observer. I was much more of a person making faces in the front row. I was with what was going on in the Senate committee meeting, to the point where I was like basically right behind the speaker, and I'm sure if we pull the video, you will see me halfway through making faces.
Yeah.
Because they were saying the most outrageous things, and my face would just be like, what?
Well, no. This is not the first committee meeting where they were talking about beer.
No, it's the first one that we were talking about particular legislation.
Yeah. And the first one they were talking about beer, I think not only did I have a face, but I couldn't keep my mouth shut.
Right.
Not so much where anybody else really heard me, but they heard me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Right. So
like I'm not happy with the whole ordeal when I'm sitting in there, because I'm just like, you guys are honestly, it's like a bunch of. it's sitting in there, and really what you want to say is, you guys are a bunch of statists. Like, oh, come on, that's not really going to happen. Like you're mad because the guys that are pro 3-tier system, the distributors, are really making like they're the ones that keep it all fair. And that if you were to lift the restrictions and get rid of the 3-tier system, that you the little guy out of business is the way that they make it sound like.
What I kept hearing in this committee meeting is that tier system keeps beer sales orderly.
Yeah.
Because apparently government's job has become to make the market orderly.
Yeah. Well, no. Look, and again, the truth of the matter is this. Let me first off say, and Greg put this in his article, I put it in my article. I think I think Greg actually said it better than I did in mine. Libertarians are not pro-business. Libertarians are pro-markets, which in reality means we're pro-people because we want you to be able to make ultimately the decision. We don't want the government to be able to create that decision for you, and we don't want any businesses to have an advantage because of who they know. It's based off of how they go to market and if people like their product and if people buy their product. These guys are not pro-markets. They're pro-business. And they're dealing with a legislature that is in all reality pro-business that can't just admit that. That while they do admit it, they admit it when it called upon to have to admit it. Because they'll come up with every excuse as to why they do this, not that they shouldn't even be what they should or shouldn't even be doing it at all. And the distributors are there to cover for the politicians for the way that the system is currently set up. And they like this system. This system works for the distributors because they have the monopoly. At the end of the day, the real monopoly holders here is the distributors. But the craft brewers, because of the way the business models work out, they're kind of stuck in the backside because when you're coming up, you can't deliver what Budweiser can deliver right now. And they were kind of making fun of craft breweries for that. They're like, well, you guys can't deliver what these guys can deliver, so that's why we have to keep this system the way it is. And even in this system, there's still room for the distributors. I'm not saying we should get rid of distributors necessarily. What I'm saying is their monopoly control needs to go away, and they need to compete for the business like anybody competes for the business. And if Anheuser-Busch says, you know what, I'm not using the distributors anymore, and I'm just going to go out to market myself, I'm going to bypass the distributors, by all rights, Budweiser and Coors all have the right to, I think they all have the right to do that. That means that they have to do better for them, but at the same time, the distributors have a network already. So it's like they lose Budweiser, well, everybody else. You know what I mean? Go pick them all up. The franchise laws are screwy on this thing. The distributor laws are screwy on this thing. The monopoly are screwy on this thing. The whole thing's screwy. The whole thing needs to change. The entire thing needs to change. They don't want that. They desperately fear it. And I think that what we ought to do is fight for the removal of the 3-tier system. I mean, just eliminate it, get rid of it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So in the committee meeting, the Senate is very much in favor of keeping the 3-tier system. So any talk of breaking that down, at least with the people that we have in office right now, it's not going to happen. They were very much worried that any legislation that we created was going to harm the 3-tier system. And that was very apparent before anyone spoke. This was just as we were talking about the bill itself. Every senator was very worried about how it would affect the 3-tier system. Now, the bill at hand started out, this was Senator Jack LaBalla's bill, and it started out as a clean, we're going to allow 64-ounce nothing else. There was no other wording.
Yep.
What was the contention was that there was a substitute bill being talked about, where it only put into law exactly what craft brewers are doing right now. So right now, craft brewers are under a tourism exemption where they can actually sell their own because they're promoting tourism. So there's a lawsuit now saying, well, they haven't proven that how much they're promoting tourism to qualify for the exemption. So this bill was just going to take the you have to promote tourism part. Just, okay, there's an exemption. There's an exemption for breweries to sell their own beer. And this one change, which would be exactly what's going on right now. Anyone brewery right now, you will get a license as long as you meet all the health and safety standards. You will not, there's no need to prove that you're promoting tourism right now. You can go get a license. Because those words are written into the law, there's a lawsuit. Senator Latvala and actually Senator Bradley had decided, let's just take out those few words and then we just put into law exactly what's going on today. This law passes, nothing changes.
Yeah.
And taking out those words made people lose their mind. They were literally, anyone can open a brewery and have no regulations on it and the whole system is going to go crazy. And I have to give credit to Senator Bradley, who is the chairman of this committee, who literally asked every single person that said that, what would be different than what's going on today?
And the answer was probably nothing.
And the answer was a convoluted, lots of words that meant nothing. Well, anyone could do it. And he says, what's different than today? Well, right now there's a tourism, you have to promote tourism. He goes, has anyone been denied a license because they're not promoting tourism? Well, no, I don't know of any that's been turned down. So what would be different from today? Well, anyone could open a brewery. Can anyone open a brewery now? Only if they... Has anyone been denied because of tourism? Well, no. And we went in this circle for an hour.
It's another problem that you have when it comes to, and in any political body you have this problem, by the way. So this is not just up in Tallahassee. In any political body you have this problem. You have a lot of people that were elected to office that don't know anything about a certain issue, that feel that they are allowed to speak upon said issue simply because they got a lot of people to vote for them.
I think what is important to point out here for the people that don't understand is the reason we have that exemption is because our legislators catering to Anheuser-Busch in particular. We have that law because Anheuser-Busch had a brewery here in Tampa Bay at the Busch Gardens location. They wanted to be able to sell their beer there on location where their brewery was. And because it was tied in with the theme park, they ended up making this law that is they will be doing because Busch Gardens is a tourist attraction, then you're able to sell your beer on site. This wasn't created for the craft brewery industry or any other smaller breweries. This was created in particular for Anheuser-Busch at one location, and the craft breweries are taking advantage of that to be able to grow their own business.
Now, and I want to give some background on this because that was something that has been discussed for now 2 years. The original language of what we call the Budweiser exemption had no issue with tourism. It was simply a straight, anyone could open and sell their own beer. That was the original language of the law, that you could own a manufacturer vendor license. Anyone could. When the law came about, it was because Anheuser-Busch, who had a brewery here in Tampa, wanted to be able to and sell it and distribute it to SeaWorld because they had just purchased SeaWorld. And instead of opening a brewery at SeaWorld, they wanted to be able to take the beer that they were brewing in Tampa and the beer that they were brewing in Jacksonville and bring it to Orlando. So that's when they had to go in the 80s and say, okay, well, you've always been able to have this manufacturer vendor license. Could have. Nobody just opened a brewery because they couldn't afford the startup costs. So Anheuser-Busch was the only one using it. Not that they were limited. Anyone could have done it. There was no exemption, no regulation. When they opened SeaWorld, the problem was they couldn't ship to SeaWorld without going through a distributor. So then they went in and said, can I get a manufacturer vendor distribution license so that I can bring my beer from Tampa, Jacksonville, into SeaWorld in Orlando? And they said, Yes, because you're promoting tourism. And that's when the tourism issue got added in the 80s. So completely Anheuser-Busch controlling the whole system. Up until the 80s, craft breweries could have started the same way that they're doing right now without any issue with tourism, because there was never tourism in the law. You could sell your own beer on your own premises no matter who you were. Nobody was open breweries because the market wouldn't have supported it.
Yeah. All right, well, more than just craft breweries up there, or craft beer legislation, even though that's probably one of the more important ones in my opinion. What else is going on up there?
Well, in the 4 minutes we have, one of the other bigger issues that I think we're going to hear about in this session is going to be medical marijuana. There is a law. It's in the Senate side right now. I have been told that there is a House sponsor and that we are going to see it come up in the House. And I have been told that as long as we do this the right way, as long as we do it in a respectful manner and we don't make it into a, where all of a sudden this becomes the, legislature of pot, that we will get traction on this, and something that we've never gotten to be able to talk about this before. So that's going to be a great thing moving forward. We're being able to talk to asset forfeiture. There's asset forfeiture bills that will greatly reduce what property can be taken from a person by law enforcement through asset forfeiture laws and things like that. There's some good things, some good issues with some reforms in privacy and things like that. So there's a lot of things going on up there, regional planning councils that we're going to be working on, and it looks like we definitely will be having a Campaign Finance Reform Act at least being able to be discussed. And there's a lot of things going on with Common Core, but most of that legislation is kind of still in drafting, so we don't know what the official language is going to be. So it's very hard to talk about any with Common Core, the campaign finance, because most of it is still in drafting. Those are things that are going to play out in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, and I think overall, one of the things that we've talked about before, and it bears repeating, is the mood in Tallahassee, the way the legislature is set up, is probably different than you've seen in years past, which lends itself more positively to some of the things that we would be going after. And in addition to that, I think that the attitude that we have as it relates towards going up to Tallahassee is more positive than it has been in the past. Those two things are going to lend itself for us to be able to be on the offensive, just like in defensive, and to be able to stop more bad things from happening. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's fair. I mean, if you would have told me 2 years ago that we were going to be talking about asset forfeiture in the legislature, I would have told you were crazy. If you would have said that we're going to have a medical marijuana bill and a hemp bill, and they're both going to be talked about by legislators, I would have called. I would have told you were nuts. It was just never going to happen. So to see these things being discussed, and not only being discussed, but being talked about, having some real decent solutions to, and being able to sit with legislators and have them say, yeah, and you know what, next year I want to do even more. Is a very positive change that we've seen this year.
Well, and let me ask you another question here. I know we got to get ready to go on a break here. I mean, we don't have to, or it's hard, but it's not that hard.
That's what she said.
You are also seeing that there are people up there that are legislators arguing in favor of our positions, and those arguing against it. Of course, I mean, you're going to have that back and forth.
Right.
But you do have a significant amount of people that are arguing in each one of these committees for the right move, not for the wrong move.
Absolutely. It's been, I was making faces in the craft beer, during that, because that was...
There's a couple statists.
Yeah, there's still some people
up there. Well, then you got the
that,
Kelly Stargels.
And she was on that committee.
Disgusting human being she is.
So that was difficult. But no, I'm actually being legislators and them tell me my position before I say a word, because they just know that it's the right thing to do, and them being interested in getting that accomplished.
Yeah, which is a good thing at the end of the day. So, all right, well, it's nice to say something positive, by the way.
I know.
Like, so many
I
times
don't get
we
to
talk
say
about
that
how
a
they're
lot.
all useless and this. It's nice to be able to go a little positive with it. You can start the music, right? There you go. I can still talk at the same time where you can start that music. You got to cut me off sometimes. Hook out when you need to. All right, hour number one's in the bag. Hour number two. We got the president, Jordan, Venezuela, all kinds of madness going on over around the world. You're listening to Liberty Underground Show. We'll see you in a minute.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty and innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome back, Liberty Underground, 1787network.com, 1787network.com. If you'd like to call the program, the Refresh Telecom lines, 1-800-525-4032. That's Refresh Telecom, 1-800-525-4032. You can also call the Skype number, but you'd have to know that one to call it, and we're not going to tell you. Send Nanny Nanny Boo Boo.
Brandon can call it.
Brandon can call it, but that's it, though.
He's about the only one.
All right.
Should I call Brandon? He hasn't called in.
Yeah.
He hasn't called in?
No.
Oh, how
but I
dare
think
you.
it's because I hang up on him during the commercial break.
Well,
so
maybe you
people
shouldn't
don't
hang up
hear
on him during the presidential debate.
Well, people hear the Skype ring when he calls in during the commercial break, so I hang up on him.
They run off the same computer.
Yeah.
The commercials and the
there he is.
And the Skype line run off the same computer.
Is Brandon already calling in?
Brandon's calling in. Brandon, are you there?
Hey there, how's everyone?
Well, Brandon, how are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm very blessed and happy to have Liberty Network right in the front and center of my busy schedule.
I don't know if that was a dig or not, but we'll go with it.
Not sure.
We're happy you could work us in.
Yeah. Not sure how I feel about that, but we'll go with it anyway.
Yeah, there's a couple of things always going on in my life. You know how it is.
Oh, I know. I completely understand, brother. By the way, I did see a picture of you sporting quite a fine beard there.
Oh, that was probably from a few weeks ago. Yes, I no longer have the beard, but yeah, that was definitely a nice Christmas time treat for many a joke.
Was that your playoff beard?
My playoff beard. No, nor was it a Movember adventure. No.
We'll have to talk about that one. Now, the first thing that we were talking about, that we were going to talk about here, is the president's. President Obama had a breakfast. He was at the National Prayer Breakfast, I think. Are you familiar with this event there, Brandon?
Yeah, the yearly National Prayer Breakfast, and this kind of dovetails off of a week ago. We had a lot of comments from the substitute press secretary and coming out again and having a difficult time dodging using terms that involve the word terrorism. President was done an interview. He's talking about not wanting to use different stereotypes and those kinds of things. We went a little bit further at the prayer breakfast, and he's really riled up a lot of folks by making the comparison between the Crusades and how all religions that has used it in violence, and he brought in slavery and Jim Crow. Definitely was not sort of the forum for that kind of discussion, and definitely, again, on the heels of him also trying to defend his faith. He did an interview where he's talking about people who've been critical of my faith and whatever, and yet he spoke more like an atheist and a secularist than he did someone who wants to proclaim to be a Christian and wants to cite the Crusades from, over 1,000 years ago and equate that to the terrorists and the beheadings and the stuff that obviously is dominating the headlines right now.
Well, this is one of the quotes from, and this is one of his quotes that everybody's referring to, and this is from Obama, so let me just make sure I put that out there. He goes, "Unless we get on our high horse and think that this is unique to some other place, remember that during the Crusades and Inquisition, people committed terrible deeds in the name of Christ," Obama said. "In our home country, slavery and Jim Crow all too often was justified in the name of Christ. So it's not unique to one group or one religion," Obama said. "There is a tendency in us, a that can pervert and distort our faith." Here's what I don't understand. Again, I understand that during the Inquisition and during the Crusades that there were some nasty things done, under the guise of religion. If I also remember correctly, I don't think that America was a country then. Am I wrong in saying that? Or hold on, were we even discovered? I mean, it was just the Indians over here then, right?
Yeah, you would like to think that part of our foundation sort of gives us a higher standard than the European chaos that dove into the Crusades and the Islamic war between Christians and Muslims that broke out, and that we would try to, use a more modern comparison, a more modern analogy when doing this. Again, like I said, he kind of stirred up the hornet's nest here by really, again, kind of giving Islam a pass on this. Again, the headlines are just full of this. On the Dispatch, we're talking about, the Saudi beheadings. It's not just ISIS. It's also the Saudi government being called out on the extreme Sharia law. You're having the incredible use of children that are being crucified, buried alive, and of course the most graphic video execution of their hostage, of course, was the man that was burned alive. And here you got a guy who wants to take the prayer breakfast of all places and then try to water this down into hey, everybody, let's be careful not to point. It really does kind of show a bit of a disconnect, and he's really getting a lot of heat for this.
Well, no, here's the thing, and you're absolutely right about that, Brandon. The other thing is, then he brings up slavery and Jim Crow for America, right? Now, here's the thing. We had a war in this country in which hundreds of thousands of people, am I right in saying that number, hundreds of thousands of people?
Yes.
That died?
Well,
in the Civil War. How many people died in the Civil War?
Probably 800,000.
800,000, right?
Yeah.
But that was every time somebody was getting killed, it was an American. It wasn't like it was America against somebody else. It was the North versus the South. Like, we literally had a war, and some part of that war had to do with the fact that we were doing that. Not to mention, the thing that Obama doesn't mention here is the genocide that happened to the people, the American Indians that were here. Like, you're only bringing it up because they were black, Obama. bastard. What is wrong with you? Like, if we're going to be all the way abouty here, let's get into all of this stuff. If you're going to go ahead and put your foot directly in your mouth, the problem is with this guy. He is such a, I can't believe I'm the one that's having to say this right now. He's such a scumbag. You're such a dirtball for doing this. How are you justifying a dude getting burnt in a cage on YouTube? Like, they put this out on YouTube. They burned him. They literally burned him in a cage. And somehow you're going to go, well, because of the Crusades, I guess it's okay that they do that. Like, really, dude? Let's also not forget that the slave trade was done by blacks as well. So this ain't a white problem necessarily. It was a human problem that we didn't treat humanity right, which is what our Constitution tried to fix, which ultimately did. Like, you're president of the United States. That means that the biggest position we have in this country was elected, and dude, you got unjustified in some aspects that you have for the honkies. You racist bastard. Like, seriously, you got and to do it at the National Prayer Breakfast. Look, I don't know if there's a God or not. Leaders up there checking off things, but I'm going to tell you right now, Obama, you better hope he ain't up there, because this one's going to be like a red flag, and St. Peter's going to go, did you say this at the prayer breakfast? Like, did you? I'm sorry, man, you're going to have to go to hell. Go to hell for this one.
Well, to your point, I totally agree with what you were saying. You don't have to go back to the Crusades for this. You don't have to go to the other side of the world. It was not that long ago where my people were being told to convert or die, where my people were being killed as savages. They didn't even get the dignity of becoming slaves. They were being slaughtered like animals.
Yeah.
And mostly because they refused to convert to another religion.
Well, what you should have done it, man. I don't know why you guys are even complaining.
Or where we had in Massachusetts, where women were being burned at the stake because they were accused of being witches, and if they weren't, pure to their religion, then they were burned alive at the stake in Massachusetts. I mean, that's definitely things that have happened much more recently than the Crusades.
Yeah.
But the problem is,
and the time and place, though.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, the time and place. Like, for you to use that disdain for everyone, that dude doesn't care who you are. He's into it for one thing, it's himself, and if he can try to make a point to prove himself to be... Look, every time... All right, I'm going to be careful how I say this next thing. You know who Obama reminds me of? A certain individual in South Florida. Doesn't understand any tact whatsoever, doesn't understand the time and place, and uses every opportunity to try to speak negatively about stuff instead of trying to speak about stuff. Now, the guy down in South Florida ain't black, of course, but... It's the same crap. It's a sickness with some of these people where they can't be nice no matter what. It doesn't change the fact that no matter what, they got something bad they got to say because there's a hole in their soul, and the negativity ain't even enough to fill that damn hole. I'm sorry, Brandon. Go ahead.
Well, I think the other part of this, I think that is really infuriating, is that he's still just going through that much trouble to not call out the incredible evil that we're seeing in this faction of Islam. They're still working so hard to make sure that we always qualify everything that it's not all Muslims, as though we're still all kindergartners and we think that it's all Muslims, even though this situation is continuing to spiral out of control and grow exponentially month over month, year over year. And he's going through this much trouble telling people to come off their high horse, pointing fingers. It was really... it really just set us back, for lack of a better phrase.
Well, I do think that, there are people on the right who are fueling that as well, because there are people in certain areas of the country that are blaming all Muslims, we're seeing Muslims even go out to the capital of Texas and being told by Christians that they should go somewhere else. People who were born here. This is happening in Michigan. It's happening all over the place. So there is a rhetoric on the other side that is blaming all Muslims for the acts of other people. So that, we have to acknowledge that is going on as well.
No, that's true. No, that's true. And I think, here's what I think it is. And, well, part of it. There are people that want to be ugly in life, and that they're utilizing this in order to justify their ugliness or their racism or whatever you want to call it. But they're using this to justify it. Obama, the lady in Texas that took the mic there's a lot of people that are using it to justify their ugliness and their hatred. And it's an easy crutch. It's so easy to do it this way. Instead of having to be honest about it and go, look, it ain't all of them. As we can tell, the guy that got burnt, his king, we'll get to this in a second, but his king's response is pretty unique. I kind of like his king's response on this one. I mean, first of all, I don't like the fact that he had a king. So let me just preface, I hate to preface it with something, but it's not that I support kings, but I like this guy. But this is what we have with this guy. This guy pees sitting down. He rides a bike around. You know, he's a big wuss bucket. Honestly, I'd rather him be more black because he can play basketball then. He can do other things. He'd probably be a little tougher. The fact that he's a wuss bucket, it doesn't have nothing to do with his color, but like he's a wuss. This guy's a wuss all day long. It's unbelievable what a wuss bucket we got as a president right now. And I'm not talking about because he's weak on foreign policy. That's not the truth. That guy's drone bombed more people than Bush ever did. You know what I mean? He makes Bush look like a dove when it comes to drone bombing. So he's willing to call the orders out and have people killed. It's just this guy wouldn't get off of his, 10-speed bike with a basket in front in order to do it. Jerk. This guy is so offensive, man. Like, he so pisses me off. But last word on this one, Brandon. Go ahead.
Well, we can just transition right into the execution, though, from ISIS. I mean, when you have a man that's being burned alive in a cage on video, that's such a lack of humanity and respect for another human being. If you can't call that evil and have more of a decisive tone with, delineating between this is evil, everyone needs to stand up for this. And all we can do is applaud the King of Jordan for having, at least in my recollection, the biggest and boldest stance against this by Muslim leadership. We always talk about that. We have people that are, not all Muslims are terrorists, but we don't seem to get this kind of response from the Muslim world, the Muslim leadership. But the nationalism, the patriotism of the Jordanians have been very loud, and they are dropping bombs. They've gotten engaged and gotten involved, and I can't think it's anything but a great thing.
Danielle, go ahead. Oh, nothing. Okay, I'm sorry. Well, I was going to say, I know you might have been setting up some of the. He did go into some. Never mind. So the king himself, though, once they did this, like once they burned this guy alive, and they can confirm this. Look, the other bad part about that one is the ISIS guys were still dealing with they were still trying to get a deal for the release of the prisoners that Jordan had
when they had already done
this. Like, they had post-production to do and everything. So while they're still in post-production on their video, they're trying to deal with to get the woman out. And so Jordan's response, which, right or wrong, I view it right now as, hey, look, it ain't America, so, go with it. Go with your bad self. These guys just say, all right, you want to burn our guy? We're executing everyone we got. And the king himself, I'm going to get in my plane because, I was a pilot before, and I'm going to lead the sorties to come and bomb your ass.
I'm going to drop a couple myself.
I'm going to drop a couple myself on you. And just go to work. Like, again, look, America's over here. We're not Jordan. Jordan, this is their neighborhood. This thing's as far away as we are from, from Alabama. Is that accurate, probably mileage-wise?
It's probably more like Tennessee, but I mean, it's...
All right, it's
close enough.
It's close enough.
It's a day's travel on a good interstate, right? It's a day's travel on a good interstate. Is that far?
It may be a little bit closer, only because, this is a group that does have control in Syria, and Syria is very, very close.
Yeah, and that's where they're doing a lot of their strikes.
Yeah, and that is so, I mean, if you were looking at Syria, then yes, they Alabama.
So Jordan is like, what, screw this, man. We're gonna work some business here, and they go to work. They're like, we're gonna knock these guys out, and then the king is coming out going, look, we need to just erase these guys off the map. Like, you know what, man? It looks to me like you pissed off the wrong king. Like, more power to you. Mess around, ISIS, find out what happens now. Maybe you might before you start, putting out a video burning a guy. You can do this to the Japanese all you want. What are they going to do? I mean, they can't do nothing.
Yeah, our leader may be a wuss. He might have had no reaction. Our guys. Obviously, the Jordanians are not playing around anymore.
No, not at all. And that same thing you wouldn't do to a Russian, you know what I mean? Because Putin would come over there on a horse, you know? And just start shooting.
Putin will ride a great white shark in.
Yeah, he'll ride a great white shark and then jump onto a horse and then shirtless come out with like 2 AK-47s and just start shooting people. So that's a whole different deal. I mean, it's unbelievable that we got to talk well about Putin like that. But and I do want to ask Danielle the question. What is your take on the response from Jordan to what happened? I mean, where are you at on this?
Well, I told you yesterday when you asked.
But you didn't have a mic in front of you.
I know, and because you know where I stand, I'm surprised that you asked me.
No, I want differing opinions.
I don't. And I told you this yesterday. They're a different country. How they deal with things. While I may be interested in going, oh, that's nice. It's Jordan. I don't care how they react. It's not my country. I think that they have every right to react to their people being killed in whatever manner they see fit. Obviously, this is the manner they did. That it was the right decision for them because their people are completely behind them, and I'm happy for them. But it matters very little to me. It was not was killed, and it was not an American response. So I feel like everybody has other countries sovereignty, and so my feelings on what they did doesn't matter, and what they did doesn't matter to me in the grand scheme of things.
Right, well, look, even if your other opinion is, I don't give a crap. That's still an opinion, and we appreciate.
Like the fact that you knew that was my opinion, though.
Well, no, I wanted to hear you say it as well. Go ahead, Greg.
Well, I think that Jordan is now having the reaction that they probably should have had a long time ago. Jordan has now learned the lesson that if you let these people continue and don't fight them when you see exactly what kind of evil they are capable of. I mean, it took them lighting one of their countrymen on fire in a cage for Jordan to actually get motivated enough to do something about this. When these kinds of acts this is not new for ISIS. These are evil people doing evil acts, and they have made it very clear that they are going to do everything they can to take over as much land as they can and control it and continue not only their control but their ideology and spread it throughout as far as they can. And Jordan now is reacting late in the game. They're being reactionary when they should have been proactive in this.
Yeah.
Because like you said, they're neighbors. Not only Jordan, but a lot of other countries are going to be facing this threat inside their own borders if they don't do something about this. And I think I don't support the fact that they have to do this because a lot of it is our fault. We have a lot of culpability in this, in what we did in the Middle East wars and what we did in Iraq and what we did in Afghanistan by emboldening these people, arming these people, and then bailing and leaving all of this territory for them to take over. Now, because they have gotten a foothold in Iraq where we left them a bunch of weapons.
Well, they got that foothold in Syria first, though. I'd have to, in all fairness, though.
They did get the foothold in Syria, but if they were contained there, have a place to go in Iraq, we'd be looking at a very different situation right now. And they are using weapons that we left behind or that we were airdropping to somebody else that they took control of.
Yeah.
It is our involvement and our failure to follow through with what we needed to do that caused this. And we approached the wrong way in the first place. We should have been getting Jordan involved. We should have gotten more involvement and made these people aware in these other countries of what danger it is to their people. Now Jordan sees what that danger to their people are. It took one of their pilots being lit on fire in a cage before they realized it, but we could have explained this to them. They could have seen this coming, and they should have been more involved. And everything would be different now if we'd have handled this in a different way and gotten a coalition of neighbors involved.
Go ahead, Brandon.
I'm sorry.
Well, I have to say, I think that the main reason that we've seen the reaction from Jordan, why we've seen is only because he was set on fire. I think the difference here, and I trust that there has been conversations with Jordan over many, many years here. They've really not been a player in much of this at all, other than just they've only served two purposes. They're either a pass-through for other terrorists to get closer to Israel, or they're a giant refugee camp. They really have not served a purpose good or bad or otherwise. But what is unique about this murder is that he was set on fire. See, beheadings and those type of executions are very commonplace under Sharia law and the Islamic culture. Setting someone on fire is not in the Quran. And that is what riled up their populace to speak out, and why their people are so enraged that this group has behaved this way. Had they not done just beheaded him, I'm sure they'd be upset. I'm sure they'd be angry. There wouldn't be the public outcry that we're seeing out of the Jordanians because he was lit on fire.
Yeah.
Jordan has been one of the Middle Eastern nations that have joined us against ISIS and more recently, because they actually got involved more in December. So they were semi-involved in this, although, were very quiet for a long time, but kind of joined in this fight kind of in December, which is what they're thinking behind is to go after one of their pilots.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go a step further there. That the U.S. kind of demanded them to be a little bit more involved, since we're funding the refugee camps that all the people are migrating to. That they wanted to continue to get so much of our resources to help take care of all these refugees, that they kind of had to get more skin in the game.
And let's not forget what they are flying these new bombing raids with.
Yeah.
They're flying F-16s. Who built those? Who sold those to them?
Yeah, that was us. All right, I got a question for you guys, though. I got another question for you. We've probably said this before, but I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask each one of you, starting with Danielle. My question is this. You hear from the Democrats in this country over and over and over again about gay rights, about the LGBT community, about how, people that anybody that even speaks out, if you won't bake these guys a cake, all of a sudden you're sexist, you hate gay people, and all that other kind of homophobe, all that other kind of stuff. They literally will go after you for not baking a cake in this country. ISIS is throwing dudes off of buildings who are gay over there. My question I'm asking each one of you is, why do you think that these people are so willing to ignore that?
It's a different country. You have to understand it. The one thing that I will say is I don't believe that the standards that we have in our country should be imposed on another sovereign nation. So if that's the way they treat their people, then they really need to find better leadership, and their people should go through the Civil War processes and revolutionary processes that we did to gain our freedom. It is a different country. We can't impose our views on them.
I gotta push back on you on this one, Danielle. Imposing our views and saying that you shouldn't do that stuff is two entirely different things, though. Do you not see a difference there?
But we've, as a country, we've always said that people should not treat that leaders should not treat their people badly. I mean, it's one thing to say, hey, we don't condone what you're doing over there, which I think every leader of our nation has always said, and it's completely different to say, we're going to send bombs over there because you're doing things that we don't think are right.
All right.
That would be the force.
Okay, Greg, go ahead, then we'll go to Brandon.
Well, I agree with what Danielle's saying. I think that has a lot to do with it, but I also think that coupled with that is that the people on the left are cultural relativists, which basically what that means is all cultures are okay, everybody is just as good as everybody else. And so they're not going to engage in the conversation of, well, they're throwing gay people off of buildings over there, but that's okay because their culture is all right. That's basically what they're thinking. They're for one, they're thinking it's not our country, it's not our laws, we can't impose our will on them. But also for the same reason that, like the point Brandon was making earlier about how Obama and the left basically excuse what do, that's why they excuse what they do. As far as they're concerned, they're engaging in cultural relativism. Their culture is just as good as anybody, just as valid, and they don't want to talk about the fact that they're throwing gay people off of buildings because that is going to create cognitive dissonance, and they're not going to be able to maintain their twisted ideology of cultural relativism.
Yeah, Brandon?
There's no political or power expediency to be gained. And if you start to highlight the fact that they've been hanging homosexuals in Iran and now they're throwing them off of buildings, then it starts to make the problems of America look like so meager and insignificant. It's not the kind of highlight they would want to go. You can't compare what's happening to homosexuals in the Middle East to the guys that are suing and putting out of business a cake maker in Oregon.
Okay, No. There's no right or wrong answer here, and I understand what everybody's point of view on this one. I'm sorry. I was just making a joke. It's just a joke. So just put the gun down, Danielle. Put the gun down. The one other point I wanted to make here, though, is that I think that another reason that these guys are doing this is because, like what Bill Maher is doing. I don't know if you guys have been watching any of the Bill Maher stuff, but Bill Maher is coming out and saying, look, I don't know why we aren't talking more about this. These guys are doing this. He's come out very strong against, he's come out against the faith on this one. Come out basically against, this is Islam doing this. It's not a radical grouping of them. It's a lot more of them than they think.
Yeah, he almost sounds like people on the right now on that issue.
Oh yeah, no, big time.
And leftists are attacking him for that.
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, and they are attacking him for that. Matter of fact, I remember like one of the first shows that they did, they had Affleck on there, who was all trying to act
cultural relativism. That's exactly what he was doing.
The righteous indignation of Ben Affleck. Go make another stupid movie, you dumbass. But it's funny that Bill Maher has come out and was so like, look, we got to discuss this. And don't get me wrong, Bill Maher's an atheist, so he's doesn't care about any of it. But it's funny to see that even somebody on the left that does that, it doesn't matter that was with them every other time. If you run off a script, you're going to be attacked. Like they were going to have him not speak at a university because of this. Which I find to be, again, they're throwing dudes off of buildings who are gay. Throwing them off of buildings. They're setting dudes on fire. They're beheading them. Again, I know that bad things happened in the past. We all understand that. But we're mad at that stuff too. It's not like we said, oh, that's okay that they did that back in the day. No, it's bad that they did that back. Just like it's bad that they're doing it now. Like, I don't understand that. Anybody else got... Danielle, you got anything else?
if we highlight that, if we highlight what Bill Maher's saying, if we say that's actually true, then the homosexuals here have to be faced with the reality of, hey, it's not that bad in America. We have problems, we have issues, and we have a long way to go. But reality is, we got brothers and sisters that are overseas that are just being murdered for how we live. And I think many of them want to.
Yeah.
Well. A lot of people are not willing to justify bad behavior with worse behavior. That's really my take on that. I don't like going, well, it's not nearly as bad here as it is in other places, because we talk a lot, just not even on this issue, we talk a lot about tyranny and overreaching of government and what we have to worry about as far as government control here. And a lot of people want to come back to how it is in North Korea. Look at how it is in Iran. And they try and make that point that, well, we've got it pretty good here in the United States. And I will agree that we do, but I'm not going to justify bad behavior here with worse behavior somewhere else.
Go ahead, Danielle.
Yeah, I mean, and I always bring this to like the lowest common, denominator like that you can kind of compare. I wouldn't, we can't, I'm not talking about anywhere else. I'm concerned with what's going on here. So, and you asked me the question with Jordan, it's I don't care. And the reason why is because I'm not in Jordan, and it's not that I don't want all people to live free and that I don't want all people to have the same things. It's that I can only deal with what I can deal with, and it has to be my home. I don't care what my neighbors are doing in their home because I have to deal with what's going on in my home. If my kid says, well, that person's allowed to do it, why aren't I? I don't care what that person's allowed to do. I deal with my home. And right now, we have a mess in our own country, and we need to start dealing with that. So I don't care what Jordan is doing.
All right, then. Okay. Put down the gun. Brandon, a last word on this one.
I just think that it does show the nature of many of the cultures that are over there, and it is very underreported. You know, had they not thrown them off of buildings, you know, the general murder of homosexuals, which has been going on the entire time under ISIS, is not really been reported on much. And I think that's kind of the crime and the travesty of all this.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. Hey, Brandon, anything else that you wanted to bring up that was maybe sticking in your crosshairs?
Well, you know, I just wanted to kind of do a quick little survey. I mean, I thought it was very interesting. The most admired people list came out. You know, you've got the Bill Gates and you know, Barack Obama, some of these different, you know, politicians, wealthy celebrities, Beyonce making the list, that kind of thing. What makes your list of the people that you actually admire?
Oh. I mean, you're asking who makes the list or what makes the list?
Like, who makes the list?
Who,
I mean, I think
would
that,
make the
you
list?
know, that's, you know, if you had to take the survey, you know, who makes your list?
Boy, a tough question. Greg, you got anybody?
Lately, I would say Dr. Tyson, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Okay.
Why? Because he is really doing a great job articulating science and scientific method and getting it into the spotlight. He's becoming very successful and pretty much a celebrity in his own right. And he's just an astrophysicist, you know. And I think it's a great thing that scientists and people who do real research, not sitting on the internet, you know, reading, you know, propaganda, people who do real research and do real scientific inquiry are getting more attention, and it's getting more people involved in the sciences.
I think that the guy that fed all the homeless people down in Fort Lauderdale would probably make my list.
Yeah, the thing is I would actually be my list would be a lot more local people, a lot more people that we know, and things that, because I see what they're doing, and people, you know, defying, you know, stupid ordinances and feeding people anyways and being compassionate to others, and, you know, kind of going around, say, you know, we can take care of ourselves would really make my list. But I don't think it would be anyone that most people would ever even know their name.
You know, and honestly, in order to be a politician, in my opinion, to make that list, like, you had to have done something really, really, really good in order to make that list. I mean, inherent of being a politician automatically a little bit of a way you're a scumbag, and no matter who you are. I mean, almost all politicians have a little bit of scumbaggery in them. So I couldn't see them doing that. And Bill Gates, like, the guy does donate a lot of money to a lot of different causes and stuff, so maybe for his philanthropy work, maybe he would get that. Beyonce, no idea why she would even get that stuff. I mean, unless she's giving a bunch of money to poor kids overseas or something. Like,
poor kids here.
Or poor kids here. I can't believe. I mean, look, our celebrity culture has lended itself to think that these people are great people, but I didn't even realize that there was a list out like that, so maybe that makes me feel a little bit better.
I didn't either.
And part of my problem with that is nothing has changed the fact that for me, my idols, the people that I admire most, are my father and my older brother. And every day they do something that just makes me admire them more and think great things of them. You know, my brother today is actually getting to meet Obama, because Obama is speaking at his school where he is the student body president about the free community college, and my brother gets to meet with him.
Which your brother's opposed to.
Yeah, my brother is opposed to it, and he's going to get to meet with Obama.
I can't wait till he tells him that, by the way. I'm looking forward to that part. Does that answer your question, Brandon?
Oh, yeah, I thought it was an interesting roundtable discussion. That was all.
No, that's cool. No, I like that. No, it's good. I mean, again, you got to bring things up, especially if we don't know about them. I think that's about it. Matter of fact, we do got to take a break. Again, his name is Brandon. The website is theglobaldispatch.com. Again, Brandon, thank you very much. We really appreciate you adding to the quality of the show. And I know for sure that we'll be able to keep up with that quality once you're not on the air.
Thank you guys for having me, and talk hard.
Talk hard. Love talking to Brandon, man. I mean, it really is. I thoroughly enjoy every week talking to Brandon. You can do the music.
Oh, well.
He was doing the wrong one.
Yeah. Oh. It's because when Skype came in, it stopped the music where it was. So when Skype went out, it picked right back up.
I got you. All right, well, when we get back, we still got a little Venezuela talk to do. I know that Daniel loves it when I talk about Venezuela like this. So you're listening to the Liberty Underground Show. 1787network.com is the website. We'll be back.
They're Venezuelan, not Cuban.
This is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersections. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, a suspension from going into effect. Classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now and be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and 25% off.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-370-3030.
Welcome back to Liberty Underground on the 1787 Radio Network. If you'd like to call the program, the number is 1-800-525-4032. Refresh Telecom, 1-800-525-4032. You can actually call now because Brandon's not on. Even though, like I said, I think that the thing I like most about Brandon's segments is that it literally gives a lot of the issues that we speak with Brandon on for varying opinions.
Yeah.
And you literally have about the spectrum of opinion in this room, between this room and Brandon. You have the spectrum. And, I think arguing about these issues and debating back and forth between reasonable people like we have on the show is a good thing to do, even when we have on stuff. So just like when we had when we did the 1 hour on American Sniper, and we had Brandon in here the whole time going over it, I thought it was a great episode. And it's debating the issues in a good manner.
Well, not only that,
and
but
put down the gun, Danielle. You are gripping that microphone like you're getting ready to hit me with it, though. I'm a little scared right now. I'm intimidated. Look, you're in your country. Here's my country.
I don't care what's going on in your country.
Oh, that's not very nice either. All right. Now, on to Venezuela. Tell me what's going on in that socialist paradise.
You especially with some of the things going on about Obamacare and things like that, and this big, large push towards socialized medicine, socialized medicine is not completely here in our country, but it is in a lot of others. And I've actually talked about the UK very often, is that and Canada, because the quality of your healthcare is so poor. that the average person is, by the time they get into the doctor to see about something, they pretty much have tried to find some kind of other resolution by some other black market method, because it takes months to get in to see the doctor over something. So, socialized medicine is great in theory until you actually have to live under. Now, this is a story that you actually brought up, so you may actually know more about what's going on in Venezuela.
Well, I don't know that I know more about it. I just know that things are breaking down pretty bad in Venezuela. It's not just medicine. I mean, after
Hugo Chavez.
Hugo Chavez, yes. After Chavez passed, the power is kind of shifting hands, and everything's kind of breaking down. And socialized there. It's not just medicine that's socialized in Venezuela. It is absolutely a socialist country, and prices are climbing on everything. I mean, I heard that it's like $500 for a box of condoms in Venezuela now. And of course, like any socialist regime, it has to be maintained by force. Dissenters are being slaughtered wholesale. You cannot speak what's going on. If you have an opinion against this and say, hey, things are getting pretty bad, we might need to consider something else, you get shot. You don't get a, I mean, going back to kind of the point we were making a little earlier, things are not as bad here as they are in other countries. If you were doing what we're doing now in Venezuela, you would have men with machine guns knocking down that door and coming in to kill us. Because we are speaking out about the way things are going, and you don't have that right. Is really interested that's in power in changing it, because the inherent problem with socialism is, although it looks good on paper and it sounds nice to give everybody the power, somebody still has to administer that. And that's going to put somebody on top administering this. And those people that are on top, doesn't matter what ideology you believe, the fact is, people in power do not want to lose that power, and they love that. They're not going to let it go. The people in Venezuela are faced with. The poor are getting poorer, the conditions are getting horrible, and they want something to change, and the people in power are like, hey, it's pretty good for us. I got a nice big mansion, and I'm eating pretty good, and I have everything that I want, so I don't see what the problem is. And if you want to change it, well, I'm just going to send men with machine guns in to kill you.
Well, look, not just that, though, but the Venezuelan economy was built on its production of oil. In many ways, what was propping up this socialist paradise was the oil prices. So when the oil prices collapsed, which if you want to say that we actually did this on purpose, I mean, maybe. But at the same time, it's not like people aren't still using oil. And you propped up your economy on something you shouldn't have been propping your economy up on. And you should have gotten, you should have been more well-rounded. But you didn't, because you guys are a bunch of damn socialists, and you don't allow for the free market to actually work in your country because you can't control it. You want to rail against capitalism, but what you're railing against isn't capitalism. What you're railing against is control by a rich few. Well, what do you got now? You got a rich few controlling everything. Look, some of us are against the rich few controlling anything no matter what, but so is capitalism in and of itself. That's the big misnomer about capitalism. Look, I'll give you an here. Look, we talk here in America about the big income disparity between, is disparity the right word?
Disparity.
Disparity. The income disparity between the really poor in this country, right? Like, we talk about how the 1% is worth all this extra money. Okay, well, Obama's been in office now for, what is it, 6 years? Yeah, 6 years, right? A little over 6 years. And I'll choice. During that time frame, has the income gap gotten bigger, A, smaller, B, stayed the same, C? Which one is it? A, B, or C? Bigger, smaller, or stayed the same?
Bigger.
Yeah, it's gotten bigger.
If you were to say bigger, you would be right. I appreciate you guys actually correctly answering. Both of you will get a cookie later on.
For example,
put down the gun, Daniel.
For example, what's going on in Venezuela? And last week, women were queued outside a pharmacy for 2 hours to buy 2 4-roll packs of toilet paper. And now, toilet paper is strictly rationed?
Because there's a shortage.
Because there is a shortage. That's what socialism brings. You cannot wipe your behind with toilet paper because of what socialism is. Oil prices have tanked. Their entire economy is built on oil prices. The oil has been nationalized, and it's funding everything. And now, with oil prices tanking, because all of their eggs are in one basket, essentially, everything's going to hell for them.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that even the solutions here. Let's go into the healthcare part of it. We started this putting our solution together here in America. I guess you could say not here in America. We're in America.
We've started the process for our own family to get involved in the solution in the medical industry.
Yeah, correct. Now, a lot of people go, well, what's the solution? You big smarty pants, you. We found a doctor in the Tampa Bay area, a direct care doctor.
Yeah.
We're going to interview. I want a little firsthand knowledge of it before I give out his name and stuff.
I want to go through the process.
I want to make sure he's a good doctor.
Yeah, and I want to go through the process. I want to see what, I want to go through the first appointment, kind of see where we're at and stuff so that I can kind of see, because I've been, I have things that have gone on health-wise for my entire life, so I've been in doctors quite often. So I do want to be able to talk about the differences.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think it's a good idea. So what was the cost?
For our family, it will be $150 a month.
Yeah, and that basically includes unlimited visits. It includes visits via phone, via Skype,
email,
text, all of it.
24/7.
Yeah, and then a lot of other things that he can do in office. Most of the stuff that would be your day-to-day or, normal go to a doctor for, you're able to do. However, they also have a line on the catastrophic coverage part, which is the other part that you kind of require in order to make this kind of system work. But even given both, here's the thing. You could take both of those things, still got to pay the fine through Obamacare.
Right.
Even with all that taken into consideration, you're still going to get better quality care for less money than if you were just... And again...
Even paying the
fine.
The fine. Still cheaper because our family for medical coverage would be around between $1,200 and $1,600 a month.
Now I don't know how much the catastrophic coverage plan is going to be, but I know that it's not very much. It's going to be maybe a couple $100.
It's normally a couple $100 for the family. It'll be a little more for ours because we have 3 adults. But you're looking at maybe $300 a month plus our one is about $450 a month. Even when we get the fine at the end of the year, we're still much better off.
Yeah.
And from what I've heard, we'll have better quality of care.
Correct. And in all honesty, I'm not necessarily making a huge announcement right now because I still have to do this, but I will tell you, I haven't had to pay this fine yet, but when I do have to pay this fine, I am going to try to find a lawyer for a lawsuit. And we still have to pay a fine?
Yeah.
I believe that's lawsuit worthy.
Well, because at that point what the purpose for the law was to make sure everyone had health care. And if we're going to the doctor, getting health care, paying for all of that, and still being fined, then I actually do agree with you. I mean, the best way out of the penalty, have enough deductions where you're not getting a refund, long to where you're not getting a refund and then they can't.
Well, no. And don't get me wrong, there is a way that you can maneuver out of it. However, it doesn't change the fact that it's still there. And right. I think that suing them at this point is going to be the proper course of action in order to undo this month. Again, we know the Republicans aren't going to do it. If they're going to replace it, they're going to replace it with something else. Greg, you look like you want to say something.
You shouldn't have the system for doing the right thing just because you're not doing the right thing the way they're telling you to do it.
Because it is the right thing for our family. We will get better quality, better care for a better price and have 24-hour, 7-day-a-week access to doctors. So for us, it's the best choice for us because we are young. We don't have major illnesses. So, for us to be fine for doing the right thing, make sure that it is ridiculous.
It's called the Affordable Care Act. You're getting affordable care. You're getting adequate care. You're getting exactly what you need. And like you said, it is what the law is supposed to be about. You're getting what the law was supposed to be directing you towards.
Yeah.
But they're still going to fine you for it because it doesn't fall in what they planned out for you.
Right.
Yeah. So and again, I think there's a lot of people that don't want to have to go through the problems of having a lawsuit. I'm not one. Adrian wanted to go to court over Real ID. More power to him for doing that. I want to go to court over Obamacare. You know what? I'm going to go ahead because, in all honesty, and this is going to sound funny to say it this way, one of the reasons that I want to be able to go to court to sue them is I have the solution. I'm signed up to the solution to the problem, and I'm going to sue you. Signed up to the solution, and you're still fining me. So I have something that's better than what you're proposing. And you're still going to find. I'll use this opportunity to sue you and highlight the solution. Because the more people that know about this, the better off that we'll all be. And also, the market right now is a small market. But the possibilities are huge. Not only that, look, the free clinic. The free clinic ain't free.
No.
The free clinic costs you money. And comparative to the free clinic, let me say this again. Let me make sure I stop for effect here. Comparative to the free clinic, this is cost competitive. How scary is that? Compared to the free clinic, this is cost effective. And doctors would do more free days if they were legally allowed to do it. If we go with this model, doctors have more time to dedicate clinic days. Now, the only part about this that is I don't even want to call it a negative, but it's kind of a negative, is that underneath this model, the amount of people needed in a doctor's office does go down. Like, they don't need as many nurses or the billing people or these other people. Those costs do go down. But we're all paying for those costs anyway.
But if this model becomes pervasive, you'll need fewer people in an individual office, but more offices will have a place to.
Well, yeah, so because the amount of people that the doctors need in order to money does go down.
Yeah, so it's not going to be a loss here. Right. You're going to it's going to be a wash.
Well, it's a loss in crap jobs.
Well. Well, my point is more doctors' offices will open to be able to hire the people that aren't working at this one in particular.
Yeah, because you have a smaller patient base. Each doctor's office will have a smaller patient base, so you'll need more doctor's offices to be able to take care of the patients. But patients will get better quality care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's again, this is beautiful stuff to see. I know that, and I know we got to take a break here, but I think to wrap it up, though, what you are seeing right now is the opportunity for so much creative destruction in old establishment things that we do see like a light at the end of the tunnel on some of this stuff, and also an ability to wake up a population with other things minus the things that we would normally want to wake people up with when it comes to things that have more thought process behind.
Yeah.
This is stuff, it's your beer, your doctor. I can't get simpler than your beer and your doctor.
Right.
You know? The guy that, sticks you and then the guy that gives you a beer. I mean, it's America. This is a beautiful thing. I mean, it's a return to things too. Play the music. So it's a return to things too. But all right, hour number 2's in the bag. Hour number 3's coming up. Let's just go after the GOP in hour number 3. It's easy to do. We've been to 1787network.com. This is Liberty Underground Show. We'll see you in a minute.
This is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance today at 727-376-0030.
This is Liberty Underground with Daniel Alexandre and Greg Bowen. on the 1787 Radio Network.
Well, good morning, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Clearwater. This is Alex, co-host, Liberty Underground. Along with me, the Duchess of Doing Stuff, my own personal Wikipedia, Tallahassee's favorite libertarian, Danielle Alexandre. How are you doing, Danielle?
I'm doing well.
That's good to hear. I'm happy to hear. That's good to hear you're doing well. Also in studio is the Prime Minister of all things that are sinister. He is wearing the demon shirt today. If you are watching it online, he is wearing the D shirt. The D shirt.
The D shirt.
The D shirt.
She wants the D.
D for demons. D for demons. Number one in our hearts and number one on his chest. Greg Bowen, how are you doing, sir?
Spectacular.
That's nice. It's nice that you had a shirt that I could kind of go into a little bit. You know what I mean? Like I think I kind of was going away from that, and I kind of feel bad that I was going away from that.
Yeah.
But I'm glad now that you were back into something that I could totally embrace. Well, this week's show, if you listen to the earlier parts of the show, we were definitely an equal opportunity offender. Probably a good way to say it.
Yeah.
But for this hour on Tan Talk, let's set our sights on the party that is in charge in the state of Florida, which is the RPOF.
Well,
I would like for Danielle to start us off with the first salvo.
Well, I actually want to go into something that happened in Congress that I'm just kind of seeing now, is that Florida, well, a congressman from Florida, is in a semi-war with a congressman from Texas.
All right.
I saw that. This is awesome.
So, a Florida congressman, Alcee Hastings, had called Texas a crazy state on the floor of the House.
Why?
Because, okay, I can't even believe we're going to say this. They have a sex toy law.
In Texas.
That limits your sex toy ship to 6 items.
Hold on. So there's a law in Texas that you can only have 6 of these toys?
Yes.
Adult-themed toys?
Like
even if it's a variety, you like
they're limited to 6. So
like it's not like a 6 per thing, it's like a 6 total thing.
Yeah, it's 6 total.
Pardon the pun, but you know.
And so Representative Alcee Hastings said, and if that ain't crazy, I don't know what is.
You know, honestly, crazy. There's no getting around that.
The actual law in question says a person who possesses 6 or more obscene devices or identical or similar obscene articles is presumed to possess them with intent to promote the same.
Okay.
So Hastings called Texas during a committee hearing on the Affordable Care Act.
Can we just talk about the irony of someone from Florida, another state, crazy?
Well, Representative Mike Burgess from Texas did do that and basically said, "You're calling Texas crazy and you're from Florida?" So
I mean, there are websites that have entire sections dedicated to the crazy news that comes out of Florida.
And there is some. Look, I live in Florida. I love this state. Pro-Florida guy. But we got to be able to admit our own mistakes on some things. And we got some crazy in this state. I mean, look, they got some crazy in Texas, too, for some other reasons other than just the limit on the amount of adult entertainment devices that you're allowed to possess. But, I mean, that is literally the teapot calling the kettle black. Pardon the pun.
Hastings went on to say, "I love Texans, but I do not like their policymakers who are in the majority. The simple fact of the matter is evident. I touched a nerve deep in the heart of Texas, and I would ask them to tie a yellow rose around it and do like Frozen and let it go."
Look, here's the thing. Alcee Hastings, the Democrats' Democrat, is going to say you don't like the policymakers in Texas? I mean, Captain Obvious, Thank you very much, Representative Obvious. We appreciate your input on this. John Madden, you John Madden dork. I mean, really, seriously. When Adrian was running for office, we actually met Alcee Hastings, like, in the middle of nowhere. It was like, what was the name of that? You know where we met him at, right?
Yeah, I do, and I don't remember where it is, but I stayed back at the hotel.
No. You didn't even go down that weekend.
Oh, was I not with you?
No, you didn't go down.
Oh, I thought that was the weekend that I stayed in the room, remember? And you guys went down there?
No. This is one, we had to head back that way because we went, it's like just below the Lake Okeechobee.
Right. Right.
Wherever
In the oh gosh, the Glade.
might have been the Glades. I don't. It was somewhere around there. Like literally this. Don't get me wrong. People may think that I'm speaking about this in a negative, and I'm totally not. Like I'm totally speaking about this in a positive. There ain't nothing around this place, man.
Like it was
Nothing.
50 miles of civilization.
Oh yeah, dude. And there's some homes there. Like there's a community there. But man, is it not many people there, boy. It is barren as all get out. Still had some bigger places because there ain't really nothing around anywhere near it. So at least in this area there was something. But like to go there and then all of a sudden one of the guys that shows up to this event is Alcee Hastings. I think they have a very large African American and minority
Community
contingent
over there,
that's there.
yeah.
And so that's why he went there probably to, that's just he knows that a lot of these people are going to be voting for him.
Well, I think the question on everyone's mind, you met Hastings, how many sex toys did he have in his possession?
I don't know how many. I don't know how many. Might have had 2.
Was he carrying a briefcase?
He was not carrying a briefcase. He had
A
people
duffel
with-
bag?
No, not a duffel bag either. So, give it up to Alcee, I guess. And he seemed like a somewhat of a nice guy. Didn't seem like a jerk. I don't think he really knew who we were, and we knew who he was. But, we really didn't. He didn't know who. I don't think he knew us at all.
Well, and I think what Alcee Hastings' point was, Attorney General. This was a very old law. So, even Florida has some of these old laws that when you read them go, well, that's just stupid. But their Attorney General actually went to court to uphold the law.
Oh, no. Look, they got some crazy over
So
there.
they were like, it's not like, oh, that was one of these old laws that we need to just take off the books or not enforce anymore. Their Attorney General was like, no, we need that.
We don't need 50 Shades of Grey taking place here in our state.
Yeah, we ain't going to have that in Texas.
So, but I thought it was just kind of funny. I mean, this was not something that was like, through the media or through, comedy stations or anything. This was actually brought up in a committee hearing that was about the Affordable Care Act, that we're talking about the sex toy population of Texas.
Do the bullwhips that the Cowboys have count? Does it only count if they are using it on a sexual partner?
I don't know.
And could cows still be included in that?
It's Texas. We never know. It probably could be. But some other craziness that we tend to see through the Republican Party is now Rance Priebus is saying that the Republican hopefuls are going to have to hit a threshold to be included in the debate. So they not only want to shut out parties from the debates, they want to shut out their own people.
Yes.
If we just work through the Republican Party, it's going to work, guys. I swear to God, it's going to work.
Well, we'll take over the Republican Party.
We'll just take over the Republican Party. I mean, it's just going to work out like that. I mean, don't worry about the fact that, Rand Paul percent of GOP. Don't worry about that. Never mind. We're going to take over.
And now he's probably not even going to be allowed in the debate.
Oh God. I don't really want that to happen. But I can't say I'm not going to laugh when it does.
And basically, Rance Priebus is like, we just can't have 20 people in the debate. We just can't have it. Now, he does say that the threshold is in place and that you have to be at like 1% in the vote in Iowa. But he does also say that the threshold can move, sliding rule, as process.
Well, they're pretty good at moving the goalposts. So
he's already admitting that they are not going to include all the candidates and that they will move the goalpost on what qualifies you into the debate as they see fit throughout the process.
Basically saying we're going to do whatever it takes to keep the people out of the debates that we don't want in the debates.
Right.
Yeah. That's what it is that they're saying. This is going to cost yet another election. Mm-hmm. This will cost them another election because they really are going to make a lot of people very angry. And not just the libertarian-leaning ones that are incorrectly choosing the GOP, mind you. They're going to make angry even some of the grassroots neocon support. And that this whole, well, we got to vote for this guy at the end is not going, it's less. You can tell from McCain Romney, how it started working less and less, and it's only going to grow from here. So stay evil, Priebus. Stay evil. You're the best recruiter that the Libertarian Party ever had. So I really appreciate all the work that you're doing to
Although Boehner is a close second.
It's arguable. If you want to go politician-wise, I'm going to say Boehner. If you want to go party official-wise, I'm going to have to say Priebus. I need to make that determination, if you don't mind. But go ahead, Greg.
Well, the thing is, I saw Michelle Bachmann's participation in the debates last time, so I totally understand where he's coming from here. I understand why they're doing this. I just don't think it's right.
And honestly, it's what the sad thing is I don't think the sliding scale would have knocked Bachmann out.
No, that's the funny part.
Is that we're going to see the sliding scale knock out people who make sense.
Yeah.
No, it's gonna knock out sticking to the narrative. So now what it'll do? What's that one guy's name that was from Utah that was running, and he was one of the more moderate guys. Do you remember which one I'm talking about? He was from somewhere over there. He used to be a governor, and then he wasn't. He was much more of a moderate though.
I think I know who you're talking about, but I can't think of the name right now.
He wouldn't be included. They're going to try to get. I mean, the Weekly Standard, the neocon Talking Point magazine, is trying to Paul and Huckabee should all be gone at this point. They should get out and not even. They're trying to get Rand out before it even starts.
Like they're trying to get these people out before anyone has filed the paperwork and declared they're running for president.
Yeah. Well, because the neocons realize that in this election cycle, they need to have a return on the presidency side. They don't need a half-hearted guy like a Romney. They need like a Lindsey Graham, or they need they can control the Bush, so they can have the Bush go in there. If they get a Ted Cruz in there, that's a little bit of a makeup. You got the great neocon Hope with the Rube. The Rube might make it through the deal. I don't think the Rube's going to make it through the deal.
I don't think he's going to run.
Maybe not, but you got a lot of guys out there that are good little neocons, good little Trotskyites, little commies that are going to try to make it through there, and they want to knock out anybody that is going to bring up anything that's not in line with the talking point.
I do have to say that David Jolly did make a comment on who he felt like what he said was that he was excited for a Jeb Bush presidency and run. Not so much the Rube, though.
Well, there's two funny things about that, by the way. I think that he's not necessarily being totally upfront with that. And how'd that robocall help you, Rand?
Well, yeah.
The robocall that he did for Jolly.
Well, yeah, because he's not backing him. Like, Rand Paul. But that's just the way it goes.
All right, Greg just handed me a note, and he said that we should stop talking about sex toys for the entire segment.
That's not exactly how it's worded.
Well, I can't. I'm on live air right now. I don't even know how I'm allowed to say that word. But at any rate, though, no. Look, here's who they got: 14 candidates still considering a run for the White House. Let's just break this thing down.
I just want to say that as we're talking about who should be out by now. Nobody is officially running. Nobody.
Yeah. This is who they got on the GOP side as possibles. Mitt Romney's out now. Bush, Christie, Paul, Walker, Cruz, the Rube, Huckabee, Torrance, Ben Carson, statist, John Kasich, horrible human being, Mike Pence, Rick Perry, idiot, and Bobby Jindal. They'll never go for. Those are all the people that are kind of vying for it.
You didn't say Rand Paul.
I did. No, I didn't. No, I did. It was third. The third one I said was
Christie.
Rand.
Oh, sorry, I missed it.
Now here's the thing. On this list, let me go with the ones that crap out of me first.
All of them.
Not all.
All of them scared.
They're all.
Danielle and I are on the
different
same page
levels,
here.
though. I'm going to start with scare me the most first, and then work backwards.
Rubio, number one.
Rube's number one on my list of people that scare the crap out of me the most. Santorum second. Carson's third. Fourth. Christie's fifth. Bush's sixth. And Cruz. I got to Cruz up a couple spots. But those guys are the ones that really the crap out of me.
Pence is a little higher on my list because I'm familiar with him.
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah. Kasich, I don't like Kasich because of what he did to the LP in Ohio.
Right.
Like, this guy plays dirty.
Yeah, he does.
He's a dirty player.
If we can't win on our own merits, then we're just going to kick the competition.
Yeah, we're just going to knock him off the ballot. We're going to sue him and get him knocked off the ballot.
So, yeah, but I mean, there is no one on this list that excites me. There is no one on this list that doesn't scare me.
Yes.
Other than, look, Rand Paul doesn't scare
me.
He doesn't scare me.
He does me because he tries to sound like one of us and he's totally not.
Oh no, that's true. That doesn't scare me as much as it angers me. But this is the one thing that I will say, and I'm pointing this out because there are people that listen to the show that are still in the GOP that are there because of Rand Paul. I got 2 questions for you. One, what are you going to do when they don't elect your boy? And 2, what are you doing to get your boy elected right now? Because I saw the last Gallup poll, and Rand's at like 5%. You've had all this time to make inroads to the GOP, and what you got to show for it, right? Because that's the way to go, right? That's effective, and your percentage is about the same as.
Yeah.
Again, if we're having a competition, which I think that this is, and we're both moving forward, to be honest with you, I'm going to equate one to the other.
That list.
I think we're tied.
That list tells me that the GOP wants Hillary as president.
Oh no, they absolutely. It's either look, and here's what's going to happen. You got to think about it like the establishment in and of itself is already lined up for Bush.
The first thing I thought of when I saw the list was, oh, isn't it nice that they're all rallying behind Hillary?
All right, good point. That's a good point, by the way. All right. Bringing things closer to Florida, let's talk about our favorite governor in the whole world, sarcasm intended, Rick Scott.
So,
Mr. Jobs.
Jobby jobs.
Yeah.
So, we actually this week, so I'm, getting to get a lot more. I get information a lot quicker up there on what's going on up there. Although I have no idea what's going on in DC. Honestly, the whole place could be on fire and I wouldn't know until I got home. So stuff going on in Tallahassee we actually get fairly quickly. But what I did hear, which I don't have a story pulled because it's not something that's being talked about in the mainstream media, is that Rick Scott, now that you see a person did not win this time, he has actually decided that he will no longer be fundraising for the RPOF anymore. So from what I'm hearing up in Tallahassee is that Rick Scott has decided he will not be doing any more fundraising for the RPOF, which is something that we always said, that if the hand-picked establishment candidate doesn't win the top seats in the Republican Party, that what they'll do in retaliation is just take the money, which is what we saw in Iowa.
Yeah. Same thing happened in Iowa when it was one of the Paul guys that won.
Right. So
which wasn't this time.
Right, wasn't this time, but one of the Paul guys won as the chairman in Iowa, and they just pulled all the money. Well, the hand-picked candidate didn't win in Florida, and now you see the big donors and big fundraisers saying that's fine for you anymore.
Well, I think it has more to do with Rick Scott and the people that supported Rick Scott than it had to do with. Like, I still think that there's going to be money that's going to be put into the RPOF.
Well, I mean, listen, you're still going to see the big corporate donations.
Yeah.
Because they still have the supermajority.
Yeah.
So that's not going to go away until the supermajority goes away. But the actual, the fundraising outside of the big corporations where they have these big fundraising dinners where you'll see some, big name politician come out and say, give us money, we need your help, is not going to be happening with most of the people that had currently been doing it.
Well, no, that's probably true, and that's going to hurt them.
Oh, it's going to be these huge issues. There is going to be a large amount of money that they've been getting that they're not going to get in the party anymore.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they'll find somebody else. Greg, honestly, I got to know, what was that call about?
Apparently, the Facebook event caused a little confusion. That was somebody that showed up at the studio on Myrtle Avenue asking where the event was.
Oh, crap sandwich. Really?
That's why we don't do those.
Oh, man. Who was that? Were they mad?
Hold on. They're calling back.
Oh, they're calling back? Okay. Hold on. Oh, man. I feel bad about that. Oh, we'll keep going then. Sorry.
Liberty Underground show.
Damn. Well, hold on. If you're calling now, though, it's 11:27. Like, it started at 9.
Yeah, well, I don't know what to tell you.
All right, well.
But and anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about because you don't follow our Facebook page is that this week event saying listen live and giving our live stream, where we go on YouTube. And that was in the event, but people mistook that for we were holding an actual event because we don't normally put a Facebook event on for just the airing of the show.
I can bring you.
Yeah. Hey, bring him on right. Yeah, bring him on right now, Greg. Bring him on.
What's your name?
Okay. We're gonna talk at the same time. All right, bring him on though. Hell, bring him on though. Tell him we're gonna be apologetic to him and everything. If it's a him, if it's a her, tell him we apologize.
We do the show from 9 to noon.
Now he's trying to explain the show. We should do a play-by-play is what Greg's doing right now.
No.
Now, also, Rick Scott's handling of the FDLE controversy, we come to find out now, is not going to be investigated. Thank you, Captain Obvious Bradenton Herald.
Yeah, listen.
Hold on, is the person not coming on the show?
No, he actually had a topic that he wanted to discuss.
Well, bring it up.
What? Can I finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Sentence interrupt the beginning of yours. No, he had a topic that he wanted to discuss, but he's not prepared right now to discuss it. So he's going to call in next week, and we'll talk about it.
Okay, totally. Yeah, we'll totally. Well, I wish he would let us be prepared. Did he tell you what the topic was?
Yes, and we'll talk about it later.
You're not going to give me any clues right now, any hints right now?
No, I'm going to let it marinate and let you sit in one.
You know, I hate sitting.
Which will make his head explode by the end of the show.
That's kind of what I'm hoping for.
All right,
so listen, everyone knew that the investigation was going to be dropped, but Rick Scott came out in his cabinet this week and apologized. He said that he mishandled it. When you read the transcript of what he actually said, he admits that he fired the guy. Like, the whole contention was that he was like, no, the guy left voluntarily. And the Bailey was saying, no, I was pushed out, I was fired. When Rick Scott gave his apology, how it was his fault, that he could have, he basically said, I wanted to bring new leadership at the FDLE as we transitioned into a second term in office. He says, it is clear in hindsight that I could have handled it better.
Here's the thing. As the governor of the state, you have every right to do that.
To want new leadership.
You want to change things around, you go ahead. These people are working at your discretion. Totally understand that. My problem here with this Skeletor-looking guy is that you're not honest. Right. You're not honestly just saying, I want new leadership, so I'm firing this guy and I'm bringing somebody else in. Like, if you're going to be the CEO, then having the testicular fortitude to have the courage of your convictions is something I want to see out of the chief executive of Florida. What I don't want to see is you doing what you do, which is snaky, slimy, just backdoor crap.
Well, the one thing that is a little, and this is why the investigation was being looked at, is because the governor does not have the sole discretion on removing someone. Not in that level. It's a cabinet level department. He did not have discretion to remove him. He had to have at least one from his cabinet, which would have meant the attorney general, the department, the agriculture commissioner. Someone on the cabinet would have had to agree with him for him to get rid of the head of the FDLE.
Unless they just resign.
Unless they resigned.
Which they forced.
Skeletor.
Yeah, unless they force a resignation out of it.
Which is what happened. Bailey was forced to resign. But because he was forced to resign, even though he didn't want to, The fact that he put in a resignation meant that there was no actual crime committed. If the governor had just fired him anyways, without getting another member of cabinet to agree with him, then it would have been a violation of law. But because he only forced him to resign, as anything. So the fact that you didn't commit a crime because you forced someone to hand in their resignation doesn't mean you didn't do the wrong thing.
Yeah, he's gaming the system.
Well, no, and now he comes back and goes, well, I kind of could have handled that better, I guess. Jobby job. I'm actually going to hire someone to start handling those things better and create one more job in the state of Florida.
Opened up a new job.
Yeah, open up a new job for people. There we go.
We're
I'm doing a job right now. Now, this is the same guy we're not really firing 1,000, but basically reducing the state workforce by 1,000 people. But obviously, he's going to have to do it only by $9.99 now because
he needs one more.
Well, he needs one more, just the way it is. What are you going to do? But let's take a break here real quick. When we get back, more joy from thing. Are you going to play the music sometime?
I am.
Get there. You like it? All right, you listen to Liberty Underground. We'll be back.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street, just south of Tyler Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix.
The unthinkable happens. It doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome back, Liberty Underground 1787 Radio Network. If you'd like to call the program, the number 1-800-525-4032. Refresh Telecom, 1-800-525-4032. Give us a call and tell us how the RPOF has infringed on your rights today. Lines are open.
So Rick Scott not only mishandles FDLE firings or forced resignations, but he also refusing to hand over detailed financial information. There's an investigation going on right now whether he violated state ethics laws, and the one thing that he could do that would prove that he hasn't violated any ethics laws, and he's refusing. He basically says, the governor's claimed that his finances are private, and that the Constitution, says that he can keep them private, although the state constitution says that once you become the governor, they are in fact not private, they're public. There's now this big lawsuit going on with the Democrat candidate for Attorney General, George Sheldon. He's the one bringing on the lawsuit.
Oh. Well, very good. Maybe if you worked more when you were running for office, you'd have been able to be in the office to do that.
He found something to inspire him to actually put in some effort.
Yeah.
Scott's lawyers have said that the request is blatant harassment.
Look, what? Rick Scott, your whole time in office has been blatant harassment. I don't ask these. Let's ask the sweepstakes, big guy, or the citizens of Florida. Or this guy's such a joke, man. It's not even funny.
Now, he has put out, his individual tax returns. He's the joint tax returns with his wife. So what this is mostly about is that the courts allowed him to make a blind trust with most of his holdings. So most of his assets are in this blind trust that he has control over. Now, people close to him do have. He doesn't control.
Well, he probably has a hard time balancing his checkbook off of all the skulls of dead babies that are on his desk.
So, basically he's got this blind trust that he still owns all of this. So everything in this blind trust is all stuff owned, but he just doesn't have, so he can't say sell that company, use the money to buy this one. He has no control over where it's invested right now, but everything within this trust he owns.
Yeah.
And so, the argument that George Sheldon is making is, it's very clear in the Florida Constitution that once you become the governor, everything you own, all of your assets become public knowledge. And while you have put out your tax returns, there's this large portion of your that is hidden. And the law was set up to make sure you couldn't hide it.
And what is he doing?
Hiding it.
And just because you have it in a blind trust now doesn't mean that people are not throwing money into those things. So it's there waiting for you when it comes out of that blind trust.
And it will, of course.
That's a good point, by the way. Go ahead. It's kind of funny the way you said it.
So, that's one of those things that, now we're going to see that play out. This issue with the blind trust has been going on, for basically since Rick Scott won election the first time. And he is very committed to hiding his assets. And a lot of times it's because what we found out is some of his holdings in these blind trusts are companies that are profiting from the policies that he's making.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Because he knows what's in that blind trust. So he knows the advantageous to the businesses. And so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, this guy is not a good governor. He has never been a good governor. Any of the things that were done that helped the economy were done in spite of him, not because of him. And it goes the same thing that we said about Obama. The Gallup poll, there's a new Gallup poll that came out that said basically workforce participation is like the lowest it's ever been. Like it is just so low, it's not even funny. Which goes to show you the numbers that Obama's touting when it relates towards, jobs is not true. But at the same time, though, Rick Scott's doing the same thing, and his isn't true either. Like, they're both lying. They're like Brian Williams.
You know what we need? We need one of our graphic designer friends. If you're listening now, those images of Obama and Bush that are morphed together, can you make us one of Obama and Scott morphed in person.
I think that would be even scarier looking.
It would be.
Yeah, I don't really.
But useful.
But and it comes up to the question now: who do you trust more, Brian Williams or Rick Scott? Who do you think?
I don't know if you're allowed to ask that question because there's no right answer there. Like the Kobayashi Maru. That's the Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah. I wouldn't trust
Not to throw
either
a
of
check
them.
out on everybody else. It's just these guys suck so bad it's not even funny. I'm offended. Like this guy just made his money in some of the most despicable ways possible. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure at certain points he was probably trying to make money the honest way, maybe until he could figure out the best way that he could screw everybody over. And since then, he's been screwing everybody over ever since. Then he got a whole bunch of money. Then he can run for governor and screw everybody over on a state level. Like it's just.
But who is he not screwing over since he's been in office?
His boys.
His rich friends, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the people that are for him, I guess you could say.
Well, his new, because now the governor's on this big, I'm cutting taxes for, and this is going to be great because I'm the governor that cuts taxes. $673 million of his proposed tax cuts for the upcoming fiscal year is completely from corporate.
It's all about cutting those things.
The corporation income tax exemption in the state is $1,000. Corporation makes is exempt from taxes. He's moving that up to $75,000.
I mean, again, look, I think that we should be cutting taxes all around. Look, in some ways, I always feel weird about this one because, in one hand, I'm glad that he's cutting taxes, and the consistency of doing it benefit a few is a problem. You know, it really does suck in that aspect. That you want them to do it the right way, and they don't, but at the same time, they're cutting something.
We don't want you to cut taxes for your friends. We want you to cut taxes for everyone.
Including your friends.
Including your friends. Your friends are part of that. Your friends are part of everybody. Cut taxes for everybody, and your friends get included. Don't just cut taxes for them.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to, and I think that's what, is kind of the conversation isn't being had in Tallahassee, and this is the one area where we are not seeing any movement on that, is that we're constantly talking about tax incentives to bring large businesses here. We're talking about tax incentives to bring, for large companies to, add on. And, if you're putting in $40 million into renovations, then you're going to get a huge tax break. What we're not hearing in Tallahassee, and what we're not hearing from any of these tax cuts, is tax cuts for the middle class worker and tax cuts for small businesses. Why are we strapping our small businesses with more and more and more regulations, like what's happening to the craft brewery industry? But our large if you're a large corporation, we will spend millions of dollars to try to get you to come to Florida. But if you're a craft brewery that's providing, 25 jobs in your local, then you're going to get screwed with more regulation.
Yeah. And that's just not. It's with all the industries.
It's with all the industries.
It's that the little small business does not get a break. They're not catching a break. Now, they want to talk that kind of game up in Tallahassee. But the policies that are coming out do not represent that. It's the opposite.
I sat down with a representative about the craft brewery bill, and I'm only kind of pulling this one out of all the regulations because this is the big one that everyone's talking about in Tallahassee this year. And it's basically all small businesses. But I sat down with a legislator, and he literally looked me in the face and said, "I am the most free market person up here. And this is why we have to have the regulations. Because if we don't have the regulations on craft breweries, then those regulations won't be on Budweiser, and Budweiser will just come and put a Budweiser shop on every corner, and craft breweries will..."
Yeah, which is probably the talking point that they're getting from the big businesses.
Right.
And the problem lies there is that there's a basic misunderstanding of the free market. Again, it's the difference between being pro-business and pro-markets. It's that when you're pro-markets, you don't care. Whatever the market dictates is what will happen. And whether that's good or that's bad it's not for us to decide. It's for everyone to decide. In all honesty, if you're looking for what true democracy looks like, it's that. The is true democracy.
Yeah. Let Budweiser come in and open a shop on every corner and see if the market sustains it.
They can't.
If people want to go buy the craft brew at the craft brewery, they will go there. If they want to go to the Budweiser shop, they will go to the Budweiser shop. If it's what people want, that's what's
They'll
going
do
to
it.
happen.
Right.
Don't put legislation out and say that because you're Tallahassee, you have the right to dictate.
Yeah, exactly. Look, you don't have any right to dictate Budweiser places. And I know that we're talking a lot about craft breweries, but replace the word craft brewery with any other business and it's the same crap.
That's like saying that, your small pizza place won't survive because Papa John's will show up on every corner if there's no regulations. Well, that's ridiculous because some people will love Papa John's and some people will say, no, I don't like your pizza. I want the little husband and wife shop on the corner that to me tastes better.
That makes pizza just like my Italian grandma used to.
Right.
There was a South Park episode, just to talk about this. There was a South Park episode where they talked about the coffee place, right? Then the Starbucks opened up and everybody wanted to burn down the Starbucks, but then they went down and drank the Starbucks and realized that sometimes businesses expand and become as big as they are because they are actually doing it better than anybody else is doing it. And for a time frame, those companies can have something that you would consider to be a monopoly. However, those last unless the government finds a way to favor that business over the other businesses. So it's a cycle like anything else. Look, will Budweiser still have prominence over the industry? Absolutely. Will that be able to last without the government intervention? Not a chance in hell. And the reason why is because without that protection from the government, they can't. It's impossible. People will figure out a way to build a better mousetrap.
Right. Someone will always mousetrap. Someone will always come by with a better product because they'll look at Starbucks and say, man, Starbucks is a hugely profitable company. And their product is okay, but I can do it better. And I want to be the competition for Starbucks because I think I can do it better. And you're always going to have that. But if you end up with these monopolies, these government protected businesses that says, well, no, you can't. Or, that's just stupid. At the end of the day, let the market decide what the market wants. If Starbucks is the best product, let people go there. And if, the mom and pop pizza place provides the best pizza in that market, let people go there. But at the end of the day, the market in every community is going to decide what they want and what they don't want.
Yeah, exactly. Don't any kind of help them at all, hurt them at all either. It's both. I don't want you to help. I don't want you to hurt. Stay out of the way and let these things work themselves out. It goes the same with a lot of like child labor laws and different regulations that they started putting in. If you look at the long-term graphs, workforce injuries is another great example of this. If you look at the long-term graphs of this, people that are progressives would tell you, well, it's because of a lot of people were dying before, but because of these regulations, we were able to lower the amount of injuries in the workplace. That is factually incorrect and a misleading statement. The reason why is the rates of injuries in workplaces were already going down. And what they actually did was stabilize it.
Right.
But they were already going down. It wasn't like they were not going down beforehand. The trend line before they put these laws in place were going down.
And then what happened once the laws went in?
Correct. But again, they want to blame the evil capitalist for these problems. And it ain't there's some guys that are capitalists that are bad guys that will do bad things. Yep. Will they get caught instantly? Nope, they won't. But eventually they will. Karma, the invisible hand, whatever you want to call it, will come onto them. It goes with the same along with, I don't ever want them to pass a law that says that a cake maker can choose who he wants to sell to. If you don't want to you don't want to make a gay cake for, a cake for a gay wedding, don't make a cake for a gay wedding. That doesn't stop the public from saying these people won't make cakes for gay weddings, so I'm not going to do business with them anymore. Or it doesn't stop somebody else to put up, Big Gay Al's gay cakes or to the cake shop that the other people have and compete against them. Again, this is a societal problem that societal solution, not a government solution, because government solutions many times only mask the real problems that we currently have. That's what people have to start to understand.
Good ideas don't require force.
Exactly. I love that line, by the way. Good ideas require force. And that's another thing that libertarians should say all the time. If you're a small business, there's only one party you should even belong to. Only one. It ain't the Republicans, it ain't the Democrats. It's the Libertarian Party. You know why? Because we don't want to harm you, but we don't want to help you. We want you to make it on your own merits. And how many business owners say the same thing? I just want to be able to make it on my own merits. I want a level playing field so I can go out there and pitch my product or service and do the best that I can. Well, you know what? There's only one party that agrees with you. Only one. I can't even think of another party out there, major or minor, that agrees with you. We are the only ones that are with you for that. Same thing with this sin there right now, Tallahassee. Tallahassee put a sin tax on strip clubs. They want to add a $10 per person cover charge to every strip club in the state of Florida.
And not all strip clubs charge a cover.
Correct. But anybody that does, you're going to add $10. Charge $10, it's going to be $20.
And charge a cover charge is to anybody who does charge a cover charge, it's going to go up by $10.
Yeah. And their whole thing about this is, well, we want to be able to eliminate human trafficking, which is BS for the fact that they're equating strip clubs to human trafficking, by the way, which I think is horrible in and of itself because that's not the case.
And they have absolutely zero evidence that human trafficking is increased because of strip clubs.
Yeah. But that's what the Florida legislature wants to get away with this because that's kind of put into the back of, the back of things. It's the back door of things. It's not the dirty, seedy part. It's the sin tax. We can get away with taxing them because there's nobody that's going to fight. Yeah. There's nobody that's going to fight for them, because people should have to pay if they want to go see, boobies anyway. You should have to pay for that. Which you got to pay to go anyway.
Yeah, you're going to pay. You're going to pay
anyway, though. But they want their cut. They want their cut, and they want to say, well, we'll spend the money on something that everybody can agree on is a problem in order to be able to extract this money. Same thing with the smoking taxes. The federal government's getting ready to do another buck on cigarette tax. Okay, Eric Gardner died because of high cigarette taxes. Let's just not even beat around the bush. You want to talk about racism or placism or trying to tax poor people more? Adding $1 to the cigarette tax is directly harming the poor. More so than the cigarette. I mean, it's crap. I'm sorry, go ahead. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I agree with you.
There you go. So, look, guys, again, and if there's anything to pick up from this week's episode, it's that creative destruction is a good thing and that the government shouldn't stop it. Whether it's Uber, whether it's craft breweries, whether it's strip clubs, whether it's whatever it is. Whatever. The market is changing all around us in many different ways, and the government is standing in the way from that. If you really want change, you've got to allow for the creation of the free market. The second thing is that good ideas don't require force. If anybody's coming to you to say, I want to make a law because of an idea, well, the first thing you ought to ask them is, why don't we just do that voluntarily? And watch their response. And you'll see the statists for the statists on that one. They'll say, because you just don't know better. What they'll get to is they'll say, you're too stupid to make the decision yourself, and we need to go in there and step in because we're just smarter than you. Anybody that says that is definitely, one, not smarter than you, and you should never let them be in charge of anything ever.
And even if they are smarter than you, they're being insulting and demeaning to you. And why should you support them anyway?
Exactly. Good point, Greg. Thank you very much, Demon. I appreciate that. Last part of the show here, though, want to make sure this week we've really done an effort to get a lot of articles out to really promote everything on the Facebooks and on all the Twitters and all the other social medias that are out there. So go to our website, 1787network.com.
There's a lot of new content.
A lot of new content on there, a lot of articles. Greg, very, very much so, has put out a ton of stuff that he wrote himself. Really loved a lot of the articles that Greg wrote. I contributed as well. And so I think it worked out very well. Danielle's contributing too. But this week, Greg really, was in the zone when it came to writing. And
on Facebook and like our Facebook page.
Yeah. Make sure you like all our social media. Make sure you like our Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Find us on the YouTubes. Everything that's out there, make sure you follow us. But if you can find all of it at 1787network.com. all that stuff. And remember, we pay for this show, so there's a big donate button on the side. If you want to make a donation, we're not going to be opposed to that. As a matter of fact, we'll be very thankful. And people that thought that the event was actually at the show, my apologies to Tan Talk for having people show up to your studio, and my apologies to those people. That was just bad communication on our part, but we'll make sure we fix it for next week. Any other final parting shots there, Gator Nation? No.
No. I think we did that. Covered
Demon,
everything.
is there any kind of omen that you would like to present over the show for the final minute to ensure that we're?
No, no, we've already done that. We
We've
spent
already-
the last
or-
3 hours.
anyway.
Sure.
You know what? Honestly, I think if Jesus was listening to the show, he'd be like, "You're damn right." I think he'd be honest. And remember, he tossed over the money changers.
He'd be flipping tables and freaking out right along with
I think
us.
he'd be with us. What would Jesus do? Listen to the Liberty Underground show on Fridays from 9 to 11.
And he would donate to the show.
He would donate to the show. All right, guys. Again, I appreciate your time. We'll see you.